Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
I'm going to go on the record right away here saying I do not like the weather today. I didn't like it yesterday. I don't like it today.
Because it's not fun.
Right, I want some sunshine. It's not like super cold or anything, but we could use some sunshine, don't you think?
Yes, totally agree.
How is everyone today? See, it's kind of like the weather. That's how I feel. I was trying to get the mood going here in the room, but Sue, I think you feel the same way I do.
Yep.
Fred?
I'm just looking forward to this weekend, daylight saving time.
Yeah. Well, there's some positivity, right? Plus, you get next week off. Hell,
that's true.
I'd be looking forward to that as well.
Wah, wah. All right, that's fine.
That means, Ethan, you're gonna have to be in this room a lot more next week. We're gonna utilize you more than we usually do.
Tell you when I heard Fred was gone next week, ruined my whole Monday.
Oh, come on. You're going to be fine. Ethan fills in. He books the guests, but you've got it under control. It's not like this is the first time you've done that.
We'll have a good time.
Right. We'll get ahead of the game, and everything will be fine. We got a lot loaded up today on the show. We're going to talk about Iran and several other things as well. Look, we'll even go out to L.A. this afternoon. Brian Ping, our St. Louis native friend who is with KNX Radio, there were some videos that came out last week about the firefighters a year ago. And it's just the wildfires, but it focused on the really kind of the decisions of the command staff and really put into question some things that happened before some of those fires blew up. So we'll get with Brian here. Also, they have governor's race out there. We'll have in the next hour Asra Nomani, who is one of my favorites. She's a Fox News digital contributor. Asra was born in India. She's got a lot of opinions on what happens in the Middle East, and she'll be with us right after Sue's News. George Rosenthal with Tech Talk Tuesdays coming up here in the 5 o'clock hour as well. I'm still trying to figure out, Sue, I just got a notification this morning on my MacBook that there was a new software update. But remember how I was having some issues? No, remember I was having issues with the iPad here. They seemingly have kind of worked themselves out.
Really?
Yeah, I wish I could explain. Maybe I should ask George this in a couple hours. But what happened was, and I don't think I was the only one, when the new iOS came out for iPhone and for iPad, there were all kinds of little glitches that people had. Let's see if I have a software update now.
It's a time change
No.
miracle.
See, this says it's up to date. It says it's up to date, but I'm not having the same, because you guys can tell, like if I start to look like I'm about to cuss and things aren't getting pulled up properly, that means that things are moving very slowly here. But I think I'm back on track. So on the Iran front, we're hearing a lot more today. We had Marco Rubio came out in very strong defense of the action. President Trump spoke this morning as well. He's meeting with congressional members this afternoon. There was an indication, Fred, I don't know where this went because I heard this a couple hours ago. Did they say, I heard the theory is the Supreme Leader was going to be replaced by the Supreme Leader's son, and that they had already kind of focused on where they were for like the new selection for the leader, and they bombed that as well.
Yeah,
is there something to that?
Allegedly, they were voting for the next leader.
Right.
And they wiped out all of those leaders.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, who's going to run the country, right? Trump saying things are going well.
They have no Navy. It's been knocked out. They have no Air Force. It's been knocked out. They have no air detection. That's been knocked out. Their radar has been knocked out. And just about everything's been knocked out. So we'll see how we do, but we're doing very well. We have a great military.
So this is interesting too, because one of the questions that came up during the the gaggle, if you will, he came out. He was with Bibi, wasn't he?
No, he was with the German leader of Germany.
So, and here's why I was confused about that, Fred. I was listening to that coverage in the car. I almost texted you and said, "Who is that?" All right, so he's with the German chancellor. But one of the things that was asked is, did Israel kind of force your hand here? He says, no, kind of the opposite.
Their hand. No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand.
Look, I tend to probably fall in the outlier category. There's several categories right now. There's Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly, and they're lunatics on some of this. I don't really understand what happened to either of them, but they're staunchly against this. I'm not opposed to the mission and what happened over the weekend. My concerns really are more with what happens next. and regime change, whatever you want to call it, because I think there's a lot of risk here. By the way, there's a lot of risk in the economy when this, kind of settles down a little bit. And I don't know, the stock market kind of tanked yesterday and today. Gas prices are going up. Remember, Fred, I texted you last week when gas prices in St. Louis County were already going up just a little bit. And in Jeffco, which is near where I live, I'm in St. Louis County, the prices are always just a little lower, but they're now all hovering at, we were talking about $3 a gallon or $2 a gallon. They're hovering at $3 a gallon right now. The president addressed that this morning.
I have never had more compliments on something I did. People felt it's something that had to be done. So if we have a little high oil prices for a little while, but as soon as this ends, those prices are going to drop, I believe, lower than even before.
All right, well, we'll have to see about that. The price of oil per barrel has gone up expectedly because of the situation in the Middle East. We're going to cover that extensively here this afternoon. Scott Jennings had some interesting things. I was watching last night, Fred. I couldn't help myself. I tuned in to CNN to see Abby's show, and he was defending it. And we'll have his explanation for it as well. But I have to get into this story here about the did you guys see the story about the St. Louis Treasurer and the parking tickets?
I did.
Okay, I love this. I love this story so much. So first of all, now, I didn't bring this up to you guys, but one time, this goes back probably 3 or 4 months, and so you're just going to laugh at me because you know I don't pay my tickets, right?
Yes, of course.
But I had lunch down the block here. I can't remember what the place was called, but when I was looking for a parking spot, I saw a parking spot, and then I saw a sign that said no parking from like here to corner. So I didn't park there. But as is the situation right outside of our building, there are these little, what would you call them? These little posts, right? And I didn't think I had to, now I should have been smarter than this because where I parked, to me, I didn't see an obvious way to pay for the parking. Usually you have something that indicates the space number, and then you go up to one of those machines and you type in your license plate, and maybe that is what I was supposed to do. Honestly, I didn't know. So I get out of lunch, I get the parking ticket, right? Well, I didn't pay the parking ticket because I don't like to do that. And eventually, I guess I'll have to pay it. But this story in this is in St. Louis Magazine. I never even heard of this guy. That's pretty funny. Had you heard of Adam Lane?
I had not.
So apparently Adam Lane is the treasurer for the city of St. Louis, and it is the treasurer's office that oversees. You might remember the former treasurer. Her name was Tashara Jones. Remember, she was the treasurer of St. Louis. So parking is part of the treasurer's office, and they're the ones that issue the parking tickets and some of the pay lots that you see around town. So the guy who's the treasurer now, his name is Adam Lane. The way the story reads is he's taken some flack in recent weeks for letting some cars rack up thousands of dollars, in some cases tens of thousands of dollars, in unpaid parking tickets with seemingly no consequences. So that's a lot of money, by the way, and I'm included in here, right? They say, well, because people blow it off, because what do you want to do? Pay for a parking ticket? No one wants to do that. That's why I haven't paid mine. It indicates, though, and Sue, you can scold me, that's fine, as much as $10.7 million is going uncollected. The millions of dollars in uncollected parking fines represent a significant loss of revenue for the city, according to our friend Donna Behringer, who's the comptroller, right?
Yes.
But this guy, the treasurer, says, no, everything's fine. And he had 8 voided tickets of his own. So he basically voided his own tickets. So now I'm really not going to pay that ticket because this guy's in his office and he's voiding his own tickets.
Did you hear what he said
yes,
about it?
Yes, I'm going to explain this. So
okay.
they claim, because you've seen this before, they have these little hang tag things, right? And because they're the city officials, they can do anything that they want. And he says that exempts him from paying the meters or the fees at the city-owned lots. So his quote in the St. Louis Magazine story is, there have been times when I've been parked and my hang tag has either not been visible or I've forgotten to place it in the rear view. They hang it on the rear view mirror. So they've been voided. So yes, in the last 5 years, there have been 8 instances where I've forgotten to place my hang tag. He added that any official with a hang tag who forgets to place it in sight of a parking enforcement officer will regularly contact his office to have the ticket voided, adding, as long as they were issued the hang tag, we will void the tickets. So I guess he had $640 in parking tickets that he forgave. The story says other city officials say they don't avail themselves of the same perk. Tom Oldenburg, who is one of the rare, I think we've talked to Tom before, Fred, he's like one of the only guys that makes any sense on that board of aldermen. He said, if it were me, I would pay it. if it's your own fault, you forget to put the placard up, it's kind of on you. Isn't that kind of the situation? He says, I pay lots of parking tickets. Since I say that today, I better make sure I'm all paid up. And he does add that he's worried about the $10.7 million of unpaid parking tickets. That's a lot of money.
It is
It
a
really
lot
is.
of money, and the city needs it.
Well, the city needs a lot more than $10.7 million, but how much of that will never go collected? I'd say probably a fair amount.
Well, this is just an example of not doing everything you should properly and taking care of all the details so that you can have the income you should.
You putting that on the city or people
The
like me that
city.
aren't paying the
Well, you
parking
too.
tickets?
You need to pay it.
Right.
But if he's not collecting it, then what the heck?
Well, he's the guy that should be setting an example, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm going to just write him a little note and say, hey, can I get off the hook on this? And see what he says. Bill King is a good contributor to the show. He's down in Houston. They have in Texas today a big Senate primary. Our gal, I feel like we can call her that, Jasmine Crockett, because she went to MICDS, is in that Texas primary on the Democrat side. Bill is going to weigh in coming up next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an accident on eastbound 70 past Lucas and Hunt. Watch for that blocking the left-hand lane. And if you are traveling in that area, there is a backup behind it. We've also got westbound 70 in good shape. 64 westbound looks good out of downtown. There is some moderate volume as you head toward Wentzville. So if you're traveling there, there's a little bit of a slow go. It's not terrible, but it's definitely a little slow. Now, if you are on 55, we usually have a little bit of volume as you leave downtown, especially it starts to build right now at Bates, headed out of downtown. And if you're headed into Illinois, we actually look okay at this hour. This report is brought to you by me, Deb Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Do you invoice yourself for those, or how does that work?
That means I've pulled up the actual spot and there wasn't any.
That's what I figured. Let's talk about Banner Construction. And I've gotten to know Bill Kaufman very well. Bill and Sam P., they run that company. It's awesome. They've been here since 1993. They have helped me out in a pinch in several situations, put a beautiful sliding door in out to my hot tub, fix some siding issues over the years. So they've been at it for 33 years. They believe that the single most important decision that you can make when considering a restoration project is who do you hire? And everyone wants the lowest price, of course, but this is your home. It's your biggest investment. You have to be careful of the people that you hire, and you don't want cutting corners and stuff like that. Well, Banner is a preferred James Hardy and Pella Window specialist, and you're getting the best here. The best companies in America work with the best. And Banner's design team is going to show you affordable design options, maybe some you've never even thought you could do to your home. So if you like to love your home and fall in love with your home over again, make the right choice. Call Banner Construction. Set up a free in-home design consultation. They'd love to see you. Tell them you heard about it right here on 97.1 FM Talk. 314-569-1050. BannerConstruction.com.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit throttlenet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
Beat the spring cleaning rush and call Zero Res today. Mark Cox here. It's the perfect time to clean your air ducts as you deal with allergy season coming up. This month, get a free size upgrade on every whole home air duct cleaning package. Don't you love it when you buy your favorite coffee or soda and you get a free size upgrade? That's what Zero Res is doing with this whole home air duct cleaning package. You pay less for more fresh. Go online at ZeroResSTL.com and ask for the 97.1 special.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
What if every time you spent money, you saved money too? With Achieve It Checking from Together Credit Union, you can do just that. Every debit card purchase is rounded up to the nearest dollar, and the spare change goes right into your savings. And here's the best part. Together Credit Union boosts your progress by matching qualifying savings, up to $8 a month. It's a free checking account that helps you achieve more automatically. Learn more, or better yet, enroll today at togethercu.org. Together Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
Well, as I mentioned, one of the Texas Democrat Senate candidates, well, she hails from right here in St. Louis, Jasmine Crockett.
Somebody slap me and wake me the up, because I'm ready to get on with it.
If you could speak directly to Elon Musk, what would you say?
When I see ICE, I see slave patrols. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Okay, I'm rooting for her. I just have to say that. Bill King back with us this afternoon, research fellow at Rice University's Baker Institute. He wrote a book called Unapologetically Moderate. How are you, Bill King?
I'm doing good. How are y'all up there?
I'm okay. Jasmine Crockett is endlessly entertaining, but she's not going to win this thing, is she?
Doesn't look like it. She had all the early on. Everybody thought she was a shoe-in, had the momentum, had the polling, but in the last month or so here, really since Tallarico's appearance on TV,
right,
that wasn't really an appearance. That whole episode, the momentum seems to have turned. A couple of polls have come out showing him up in the 6 to 7 range, and I was looking at some social media on there too, closing events last night. Hers had about 100 people, and his had about 1,000 people there. So it sure seems like he's going into Election Day with momentum.
Okay, but this is a Republican seat in theory. You have John Cornyn against Ken Paxton. Kind of explain to my audience here in St. Louis the dynamics of that. And President Trump did not get involved here and endorse either of these candidates. But let me just play this. So Paxton says, look, he's been way outspent.
I think he spent close to $100 million. I've spent around $3 million. They have definitely pumped the money in from Washington, D.C. I don't think it's going to matter in the end. Obviously, those commercials have been on all day, every day for about 6 months. But we're going to win this. And I think there's a slight chance that we could win this without a runoff.
Okay, so Bill, what we hear, and I guess what the country might hear, conventional wisdom, is if Paxton wins, well, that gives the Democrats a chance at this seat. What's your analysis of the way this is all coming down with Cornyn, Paxton, and on the Democrat side as well?
I think that's probably right. Cornyn is a known quantity. He suffers somewhat of the fact that, the sort of MAGA Republicans don't think he's, Trumpish enough, and the Democrats don't like him. So his favorabilities are not that high. But when it gets down to a general election and it's going to be him against, say, a Jasmine Crockett, then I think most Texans would go ahead and decide for him. Paxton's got a lot of baggage, and when I go to like Republican Women's Club and talk to them, they don't like Paxton because of what happened with his wife is a very popular state senator here in the state. Everybody loves her, and so there's a lot of people that really are not happy with the way Paxton has behaved during the last few years.
I'm a little confused on the calendar, too. So this is the primary, but then is the general not till November, or how does that work?
No, it's in May.
It's in May?
We moved our primary.
Okay.
Yeah, we moved our primaries up, so we'd be one of the first states in presidential elections. And then the primaries in their traditional day, which is in May. I don't remember the exact day right now, but it'll be about 2 months from now.
You wrote, Bill, a piece. You did some research for Brookings on the redistricting plan and found that I think the selling point for Trump was, well, that's going to add 5 new Republican seats, right? You're calling that into question, I think, with the report that you did, aren't you?
Right, yeah. Mark Jones, who's a political scientist at Rice, and I did a study on how those elections are likely to come out. And what happened was the Republican map makers saw this swing in the Latino vote in 2024. Traditionally in Texas, Latinos have broken about 60-40, call it roughly, for Democrats. But Trump won it by about 10 points. And so the Republican map makers assumed that would carry over to the midterms. And it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. The polling certainly doesn't look like that. We've had some special elections where we've been able to look at the Latino crosstabs, and they seem to have a significant amount of buyer's remorse in voting for Trump in 24.
Well, and a lot of that has to do with what we saw in January in Minnesota, right?
I think less so than most people understand,
Really?
Mark. There's this real confusion about the Latino community, and unless you grew up with it like I did, have Latino family members, they tend to think of it as a homogenous group. more like the African American community tends to be. But within the Latino group, you have Cubans, you've got Mexicans, you've got Venezuelans, you've got all these different groups that don't always get along together. And so it's a much more complicated dynamic about that. And I've got a good friend here who's a Latino. His family's been in Texas for 6 generations. That's 3 generations longer than my family's been in Texas.
Right.
And he doesn't think that illegal immigration is very cool at all, But they are conservative people by nature. Most of them are pretty religious people. Of course, many Catholics in that group. They're not crazy about abortion. Their values are much more aligned with the Republican Party in many ways. But and I think they voted largely on economic issues last time because there are a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of working class people, a lot of tradespeople in there. And I think what I'm hearing from that community is that Trump just hasn't delivered on his economic promises. They don't see that happening. Tariffs have sort of played havoc with the Texas economy because we're right here next to Mexico. But I also think I don't want to completely discount the immigration stuff because they're also a very empathetic people, and they don't like the guys being drug out of their houses and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the optics of everything that happened, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, the optics. Yeah, they don't like it. So it looks like right now it's kind of a snap back to the 60-40. Of course, we'll know when the polls close eventually in November, but right now it doesn't look like the Latinos are going to vote like they did in 24. Independents have also Trump has completely lost independents in Texas, which is a very large group. It's, it's about the same size as the Republicans and the Democrats. And he's lost, I want to say 30 or 40 points with them. So it's going to be a tough cycle down here for Republicans, I think.
A lot can happen, obviously, between now and November. But on the economy, look, I want your thoughts on what's happening, overseas, because this is a lot more uncertainty. I think you're seeing the market react to it the last couple of days. Gas prices definitely are going up. We're seeing it here already. The president says that's going to be temporary with oil prices. But, they got a lot to deliver here, I think, in a very short time to give themselves a window to focus on the economy for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think that's right. Recently when I hear, Trump telling people how they really don't understand how good they've got it, it kind of reminds me of Biden making that same pitch, in 24. People know what's in their bank accounts. They know whether they've been laid off or not. They know what their economic conditions are.
Bill, I'll give you an example.
When they go to the grocery store.
I went to Target this morning. I had to pick up a prescription, and I just needed a couple of things. And there were a couple of things on my list. I looked at the price. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. There's no way. And I cannot believe. And, I can afford things probably a little bit better than some people out there. But that you're still not feeling it. When you go to the grocery store, you go to Target, you see how much it adds up, and those prices don't seem to be going in the other direction. Look, I bitched yesterday about Girl Scout cookies are $6 a box now, Bill.
Yeah, look, and tariffs have added to that pressure all along. I think Trump sort of took his eye off the ball, but he got elected on the economy and immigration and controlling the border. And he did a great job on shutting down the border. If he'd have then gone ahead and focused on the economy instead of maybe not all this foreign stuff. And look, I hate the Iranian regime. I think the world would be better off without him. And of all the various things he's gotten involved with overseas, I probably support that more than anything else.
Right.
But the American people are not crazy about foreign wars, especially when they're paying $6, a box for a Girl Scout cookie.
Yeah, that's right. Bill King, thanks for jumping on here with me. Hope all is well down there in Houston.
Take care.
All right, we'll see you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Crews have been dealing with an accident on eastbound 70 past Lucas and Hunt, and it started with the left lanes blocked. They've been trying to move that off to the shoulder, and there was an accident reported northbound 270 on the ramp to 70. So those areas have some volume. We look fine on southbound 55. It's a little slow at Bates, but then things open up. And if you're headed into Illinois, we look fine on the bridges downtown. But look for an accident westbound 5570, right at the 64 split. That's caused a delay. And there's moderate volume eastbound 64 on either side of 157. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
Honey, I found the one.
Oh, I thought I was the one.
Oh, you are, but this one's certified, background check, shows up on time, and can install all the ceiling fans.
Heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. Trusted pros who do it right.
Okay, we were talking about prices. Maybe you are a little cash poor right now, need some cash flow. Stewie can help you. Stuart Rosenblum of Stuart's American Mortgage. And I've gotten to know him recently. Look, here's what I would say. And I'm going to give you his cell phone here. If you have a 3-minute or a 5-minute conversation with Stewie, you're going to want to work with him because he knows what he's doing. He's been doing this in St. Louis for a long time. Google the bagel loan. He's the only lender to offer that. He can explain why. It's called that because it looks like zero. And you pay zero when you refi. You pay no appraisal fees, no closing costs, no title fees, no broker fees. He can make that happen. And Stewie will tell you, even if you've refinanced 3 years ago, it's time to look at it again. The rates have dropped, and the bagel loan's going to save you thousands of dollars. So he likes to think that he opens doors for his clients while making a process, let's face it, getting a mortgage or doing a refi, it's intimidating, right? Got to get paperwork and all this other stuff. He'll make it easy for you. It's great service. Stewie and his son Jordan handle all the loans. Give him a call. This is his personal number, 314-324-4440. He's going to take great care of you. Quick closes as little as 10 days. NMLS number 226715.
Straight Realty has always been an industry leader when it comes to commissions. So it should come as no surprise that the recent Realtor settlement has only empowered us to continue offering our sellers even better rates. We now list homes for only 2%. Hi, I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. Call me, 314-441-4444. Why pay more than 2? You can also listen to my podcast on my website, straightrealty.com.
Commissions are not regulated and are negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Imagine this, a summer evening, relaxing under a beautiful porch overhang, hosting your friends on a composite deck, or enjoying a bug-free breeze in a screened room. That sounds dreamy, right? Hi, it's Kim, and that dream can be your reality with Lakeside Renovation and Design because they specialize in creating outdoor spaces that make your backyard the go-to spot for family and friends. And with their attention to detail and the high-quality materials they use, you'll have a space that lasts for years. Visit lakesideRD.com today to get started on your outdoor oasis.
New tax resolution firms are popping up every day with high-paid celebrity endorsers, advertising ridiculous claims in their TV ads. That's why they have the tiny, unreadable disclaimers at the bottom of the screen. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. Our ads never have those ridiculous, fast-talking, tiny disclaimers at the end because, simply put, there are no guarantees when it comes to the IRS and wiping out tax bills. And we don't make promises we can't keep. Of course, there are ways the Lance Drury Law Firm can help resolve your tax debt, but no company can guarantee it will eliminate it. This is why their clients call the Lance Drury Law Firm when those promises don't pan out. If you have tax problems, you have legal problems, call me, Lance Drury in St. Louis, at 314-260-6120 or visit Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
3:32, this portion of the show sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Fox News National, St. Louis Local, 97.1 FM Talk.
So in December, the plaintiff's attorney for about 3,000 fire victims from the Palisades fire in Los Angeles got a court order allowing them to depose the dozen L.A. firefighters who went to the site of what's called the Lockman Fire on the morning after it broke out and then supposedly was extinguished on New Year's Day 2024. Here is a little bit of that testimony, and there's a column that was in hotair.com last week by one of the contributors that said the video depositions of whistleblowing L.A. firefighters will have you seething, and they kind of do.
I was the only one. So I went around and I exposed a couple areas of different sizes, and that's where I noticed hot coals underneath the ashes. I could feel the heat coming off of it, and I didn't even want to use my gloved hand because it was hot. So I just kicked it with my boot to kind of expose it, and there was like red hot, like coals that was still smoldering, and I even heard crackling. I go, from my experience, I feel like we've been assigned to pick up hose today, but I think a better move would be to pivot and go to charge these hose lines and do a more thorough mop-up just based on that small area as a sample portion for what I was seeing.
Yeah, that testimony gets worse, the way he describes his superiors. That's Scott Pike. He's a 23-year veteran. Our friend Brian Ping, who's a St. Louis native, he's an anchor reporter at KNX Radio in Los Angeles, back with us this afternoon. He was our chief correspondent during all the fire madness. That was so crazy a year ago. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing fine, Mark. How are you?
I'm good, but this stuff that's come out is not very complimentary toward the leadership of either the fire department or the city of Los Angeles, is it?
No, and it's all pretty much one and the same. I mean, there could be blame handed around throughout the halls of City Hall. I mean, Mayor Bass fired the chief, Kristen Crowley, in the wake of the fire, but still, I mean, who hired her? Who put somebody in charge if they were indeed culpable? And what are the policies here? So it really doesn't look good for the city on any side.
Because in this testimony, and I didn't want to sit here and play all the audio so, you can sit on hold. I'm going to play a little bit when I let you go. But basically, he says he saw multiple, what he refers to as smokers. He tried to get colleagues to do more of a mop-up. He was ignored. He was ordered to pick up the hose despite the hot coals and the ash pits everywhere. He basically says, look, I took my orders and I did what I was supposed to do. But what he said, it sounded to me like some of it was people wanted to take off for the weekend. They didn't want to do their jobs. It was quite stunning.
Yeah, that's the big mystery here. And, some of these firefighters were told, park officials, it's parkland, so park officials will come later and shore it up. Apparently, they never did. So that's kind of at the heart of this, and at the heart of, did this exactly lead to the Palisades fire? Now, these things are very complicated because you've got power lines in the area. You had 80 to 100 mile an hour winds that could have kicked up, anything, even if there wasn't a smoldering fire. So they've got to be able to link A and B there. But yeah, it is. If you have hot spots, I mean, if you've ever been out on a campfire, you're told if you're in scouts or whatever, they tell you, make sure that area is cooled down, like pour some water on it. Make sure that it is secure and cold, not smoldering anymore before you leave it. That's your responsibility. And it really just kind of is a head scratcher as to why they would be called off if, very apparently, according to this testimony, they were called off when it was still very active. If you didn't want to touch it with a glove, I mean, that's a red flag.
Right. And you had firefighters say that they thought, you referred to this, that the state park employees told them they would take over patrolling, but then you have state park employees and someone confessing in a deposition he never visited the burn again. So there was lack of communication, and a lot of things that shouldn't have happened. And, I don't know, what is the liability? Where is this going to come from? The city of Los Angeles with all these lawsuits? Because you can't tell me this isn't going to result in billions of dollars in damages.
It very well could, and that's a problem because Los Angeles is already $1 billion in the hole, and they're scrambling to patch all these parts of the city budget, and now you're facing what will very likely wind up in a settlement. So we don't go to trial, and we don't go to discovery as to the internal communications between the mayor and the fire department. It's a real mess, and it is not going to end well, I think, for the city here, because of course you've got people that are passionate, and why not? They lost their homes. They're not going to give up this fight, so they're going to keep putting the pressure on.
And what is I know we asked you this, I think, the last time you were on, but what is the rebuilding effort like right now? Do you have any sense of that?
Really not much has changed notably since the last time I spoke with you I believe that was about a month or so ago. It's just kind of that slow grind, that process of, first clearing the land. They had been making some progress on that, but also, you're dealing with insurance and people being able to make sure that those claims go through, that they get that money. And in many cases, they're not. And now you've got investors swooping in and speculators wanting to snap up that land, which is, complicating matters further, because then you worry about changing the entire character and the makeup of what's happening there in the Palisades, and also especially in Altadena, talking about people who live there for decades and decades. And it's not like they are bursting at the seams with money to be able to just rebuild there. So as far as that rebuilding, it's just going to keep going over the next months and years. And as far as seeing any satisfying progress, I don't think that's coming anytime soon.
Yeah, it's just really sad. Brian Ping is here from KNX in Los Angeles. Okay, while I have you here, let's talk a little bit about your governor's race out there. Gavin Newsom's going to run for president. We know that. He's term limited out, right?
That's right. So, this is really interesting because First of all, you need to know that California has what's called a jungle primary, meaning that everybody is one race.
Right.
It's not divided by party. And the top two, regardless of party, advance to November. This primary is in June. Now, where it gets really interesting here is that the Democratic field is so divided, and no one's getting more than, maybe 12%. The top two in the race to advance to November are Republicans, Steve Hilton and the Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco, which is a really interesting case here. And now you've got the chairman of the California Democratic Party who's putting pressure on some of these candidates getting maybe 1-2% of the polls or less to get out of there. Let's consolidate support behind, one or two of these candidates so that we can at least get one into that top two. I mean, that's a nightmare scenario for the Democrats, and they're really starting to realize that.
Look, I'm looking at the polling right now, and you got, in a couple of these, Bianco's up 5 or even 8 points. I see Steve Hilton up by 1 to 3 points in some of these polls as well. Tell me about Bianco. I don't know anything about him.
Chad Bianco is very much aligned with, MAGA President Trump and with security, immigration enforcement. So in that wing. So there's really not a whole lot we know too much beyond that because, we're talking about having so much money to spend on this election, and spending in California is extremely expensive. And so he's got to have a runway not just until June, but all the way until November. So really, we have not seen too much messaging from a lot of these candidates yet, except for Tom Steyer, who's a multi-billionaire, and he's able to flood the zone. And then also Matt Mahan, the mayor of San Jose, he's a name to watch. He just entered the race late, polling pretty low. He's a Democrat, but he's positioning himself as a centrist moderate. And being in Silicon Valley, he's starting to gain a lot of the support from the tech titans who are going to get hit with this 5% billionaires tax. Some of them are just up and leaving the state. Others are staying and, putting up some money to see if he can step in, perhaps. And, they had an ally with Newsom. They want to keep that on with him. So Matt Mahan is a name to look at here.
Is Eric Swalwell one of the top Democrats? That should tell you something about that race in and of itself.
Democrat. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, right. So, he's a guy that, outside of the Bay Area is mostly known for, his, the stories that we saw about it. I guess his dalliances with a spy or from China, or that's not great. So I think that's some good opposition material here for whoever emerges, and as we get closer to June. But yeah,
that's fascinating.
Southern California, they don't really have. The thing is that the Democratic Party they don't really have a big name. I mean, people thought Kamala was going to run, she didn't. People thought Rick Caruso, the billionaire who ran for LA mayor, notably, was going to run. He didn't. He supported Mahan. But Democrats did not position themselves well at all for this race.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I see the panic. Rusty Hicks, to your point, just wrote that letter today, California Democrat Party chair, basically saying, get out if you don't have a viable path. So we'll keep an eye on that. Brian Ping, thanks a lot for coming on here this afternoon. It's always great.
Thanks, my friend.
All right, take care. I wanted to, and I said I didn't want to, spend the time when he was on the phone playing this, but this stuff from this guy at the fire is really disturbing because, again, you had the residents of the Palisades, 3,000 plus people, they're suing, and they were able to depose a bunch of the firefighters that were on the scene. And this firefighter in particular was just baffled by his command and the orders that he was not receiving.
The way the hose was coming down the hill into my area, I did what any good firefighter would do is there was residual water. I cracked the coupling and I pinched the hose and I directed it into the ash pit to try to get the residual water to just cool that off and start to do something to mitigate these ash pits. And it steamed and it crackled, and the amount of water I put on it was still not enough. I didn't put it completely out.
Yeah, so he's going through the process of what he was seeing and trying to get other people to, maybe pay attention to this, and they're not. This guy's name is Scott Pike.
I just saw a couple of firefighters. I don't know their names. I don't even know who they're assigned to, and I just said... It was like almost sarcastic. I was like, hey guys, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Like maybe we should be charging these lines instead of picking them up. And then they just kind of looked at it and were like, So I initially brought it to the attention of my coworkers who are firefighters.
This, by the way, does not instill a lot of confidence, right? With reaction to that.
I felt like I got kind of blown off a little bit. And then I mentioned it to the captain. Once in my mind, I decided that one everything needs mopped up. In my mind, everything needs to be addressed. So that's how I approached him is like, hey, Cap, Skipper, whatever, we have hot spots. We have some ash pits or whatever. That's an alert to double check the whole area, and maybe we need to switch our tactics. So that's all it was.
Yeah, so why is this guy the only one that's making, those claims? And here's the other thing about this. I'm going to play one more soundbite here. He was never interviewed for the city's after-action report on the Palisades fire. I mean, if someone should be interviewed, I'd say it's this guy right here.
Captain, why he hadn't directed other firefighters to mop up the area better, as you put it?
No, because you don't question the captain. I just went back to work, picking up hose, awaiting new orders.
Did you ever get new orders?
No, sir. And a lot of guys that were there that day, it was the second, so post-holiday, I was already working overtime because nobody else wanted to work it. So a lot of people were like, let's just get this hose picked up. That was the sentiment I was feeling, like we have orders. I haven't really spoken much on it because it kind of sits heavy with me that nobody listened to me. I felt like I got kind of blown off a little bit, and I haven't seen anybody step up and take responsibility. None of my leaders, none of the city leaders. Nobody.
Well, look, when you have a lawsuit, there's a lot of testimony. There's a lot of depositions. But if that's some sort of overriding narrative that's accurate, the city of Los Angeles will be bankrupt.
Yes.
Right? I don't know,
Yes.
Because that is reckless, unprofessional, unacceptable behavior. And you can't tell me he's the only one that knows that, right?
No way.
Wow.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Crews are still on the scene of the accident on eastbound 70 past Lucas and Hunt, and they've got that left lane blocked. They're working to get that off to the shoulder, but in the meantime, there's a slow go through there. Southbound 170, moderate volume south of Olive through 64. Westbound 40 is lined up Hampton out through McCausland. Eastbound slowing at Big Bend. And then westbound looks pretty good all the way out through the 70 split. Now, 70 westbound is slowing for a look at that accident near Lucas and Hunt, but then it opens up and looks fine. We had an accident on the Illinois side. It was westbound 5570 at the 64 split. That has caused a delay. And Route 3 is really slow. And this is just south of the Poplar Street Bridge in both directions, south of Monsanto. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. This report is brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Midwest winters take a real toll on your garage door, and Overhead Door Company of St. Louis can come out and perform their 26-point tune-up on your garage door and opener. Just one price for up to 3 garage doors and openers. Schedule online, overheaddoorstlewis.com. This is 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, I think I talked about this last year a little bit. I had a couple of friends who were going through a divorce, and it was interesting. In both cases, I had not heard from these people in a little while, and I did not know that the marriage had fallen apart. These were not really close personal friends. But then when I found out, there was a reason for kind of going radio silent, and I get it because I've been there myself. I want to guide you into something that will help you along the way, and that's the law offices of Susan L. Ward here in St. Louis. Susan is awesome. She's been doing family law for 3+ decades. They'll take great care of you. She's got an awesome team, a beautiful office that's in De Pere at Manchester and 270 that they moved into last May. And did I mention experience? Because really, you don't want a newbie handling a case like this. You're going to be better off in the long run with someone who has a depth of experience that Susan has here in the St. Louis area. Check out the website. There's all kinds of useful resources and information up there at stlfamilylaw.com, or you can call, and there is a confidential consultation form on the website, but the phone number is 314-783-9400. The focus on family law with the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward. Again, the website is stlfamilylaw.com. The Reardon Fish Fries continue. Mark Reardon here. Join me and the crew at Assumption Parish in South County this week. Details at 971talk.com/events. It's Fish Fry Fridays on the Mark Reardon Show. Hope to see you at Assumption Parish in South County, sponsored by Apache Village RV.
It's that time of year to refresh those tired, stained, and worn-out carpets for spring. Call Carpet Guy Home Services with deals starting as low as $39.95. Our professional cleaning will bring your carpets back to life. For all your home cleaning services, schedule online at www.callcarpetguy.com.
Is your home, business, or church looking tired, chalky, or in need of curb appeal? Go Rhino. Tired of painting year after year? Go Rhino. Our unique 3M ceramic technology is perfect for brick, stucco, aluminum, steel, color lock masonite, and more. It's backed by our 25-year transferable warranty to not chip, crack, or peel. Great if you're staying, and even better if you're selling. Our ceramic coating allows you to maintain all of your architectural features. The decision to do vinyl will leave your home looking like a plastic moldy box. With Rhino Shield, in 15 years, your home will still have that, wow, it looks like you just got it painted. We've done large condo complexes, parking garages, pole barns, and commercial strip malls. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. Evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
What if you had a plan to build income outside your job? At Lifestyles Unlimited, you'll learn how people are investing in real estate to grow their income and make smarter financial choices one property at a time. Right now, join us for just $297. That's a savings of $443 off our real estate education program. Text RADIO to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
Hey, a reminder that our Fish Fry Friday tour continues this week. It's all brought to you by Apache Village RV Center. We're all set up for this Friday at Assumption on Mattis Road.
Yay.
And we'll have, we don't do this often with the roundtable panelists, but John Lamping was nice enough to come out to Cottleville last week. He lives in the Augusta area, so it wasn't that far for him.
Yeah.
But his mother, that's her parish.
We love her.
And we met her last year. And John's going to come out and do this roundtable. We'll have former State Senator Jeff Smith on the panel, so that'll be a good one live at Assumption on Friday. And again, thanks to the team at Apache Village RV Center because they're sponsoring all these. We go on the 13th, next Friday, to St. Mary Magdalene in Brentwood, Queen of All Saints in Oakville on the 20th, and we close things out on the 27th of March, Ott's Tavern and Fish Stand in Millstadt, and it's going to all be over before we know it. You know what? I was just thinking about Fred can't be at next week's either because he's going to be taking a little bit of a break for spring break, so we miss him at that one as well.
Bummer.
Somebody should have told him to reject those vacation days during the fish fries,
Come
right?
on.
Tell me, Sue Thomas, how this doesn't just make you sick to your stomach. I saw this morning. This was in the New York Post. There's a musical that is going to immortalize the alleged United Healthcare CEO gunman Luigi Mangione that's going to premiere in New York City this summer. It's called Luigi the Musical. I'm not making this up. This is real.
Come on.
It's going to take the stage at something called the Green Room 42 in Midtown West on June 15th. It's basically a 20-minute subway ride from when this happened with Brian Thompson. We was shot outside that hotel. That was in December of 2024. The twisted, this is what the story in the Post says, the twisted satirical comedy provides a, quote, bold, campy, and unafraid take on the accused assassin's life in lockdown while on trial for the murder of the dad of two. It is marketed as a tale of love, murder, and hash browns, a reference to Mangione scarfing down on the McDonald's item before his arrest in Pennsylvania. They say they're going to interrogate rather than glorify violence. And I guess, all right, here's something even more sick. This show originally premiered in San Francisco last year to sold-out crowds. Are you kidding me? Here's a couple of quotes. Here's a New Hampshire State Representative, James Spillane, says, "This is disgusting. Are you going to do one about Dahmer next?"
I mean, and it's so soon. This is all just really tasteless.
You know, it's one thing, I guess, that people want to do something like this and put it on and, you know, try to put it together. But let's think about the people who are buying the tickets, right?
Right.
The people who are going to that show are the ones that I have questions about. Of course, there's always going to be kooky people out there trying to cash in on some of the nonsense. But who in their right mind thinks, well, we know this. This guy gets love letters. He's being cheered outside the courtroom. You know, he's a hero. He's a martyr for a lot of these people.
What if you were the family of the victim?
Or just even better than that. How about just a sane person?
Okay,
how about if you were a sane person and you saw the reaction to that? Because it's horrifying. It really is. All right. Hey, we're going to take a break here at the top of the hour. And let me mention a couple of things for tomorrow because Lauren Traeger from Channel 4 reached out to me today, and I'm going to watch one episode tonight or tomorrow because she's doing a podcast on this show, DTF St. Louis.
Good.
And I want to hear about it. So she's going to come in studio tomorrow. Ann Wagner will be with us tomorrow. Our friend Dwayne Patterson from out in L.A. in the 5 o'clock hour. After we break for Fox News here, I have a pretty funny story. You know, I used to do these movie junkets years ago for Channel 4, retired during the pandemic. There's a guy named Jake Hamilton. I've known Jake for a long time. He's up at WGN in Chicago, and he's super talented. But he was doing an interview for this new movie that's coming out with Ryan Gosling. And Jake was doing the interview while he was at the Grand Canyon, basically on vacation, and the bus he was in broke down. So he did the interview with Ryan with the background of, you know, the Grand Canyon, essentially.
Wow.
And Ryan Gosling notices it, and the responses are kind of going viral today.
Oh, that's funny.
So I might try to get Jake on later this week, but you got to hear the audio because it's really, really fun. So I'll get to that in the next hour. Obviously, we have a Tuesday edition of Sue's News as well. And then at 4:30 this afternoon, Asra Nomani. I love Asra. She's going to have a lot to say about Iran. She is now senior editor of investigations at Fox News Digital, a senior fellow at the Independent Women's Network. Of course, she founded the Pearl Network because her dear friend Danny Pearl from Wall Street Journal was brutally executed 2.5 decades ago. She'll have some thoughts on all of these things coming up at 4:32.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
They have just cleared the accident eastbound 70 past Lucas and Hunt. And it had been in the left lane for a while, so it's going to take a minute for everything to unwind behind it. Southbound 170 still a slow go in pockets south of Olive through 64. Now westbound 40, moderate volume mostly, but it's approaching Hampton out through McCausland, a little bit slow at 270. And then again, headed for Prospect. 70 westbound looks great out of downtown. Southbound 270 is mainly moderate volume on either side of Olive. It's a slow go, headed toward 55 at Bates. And an accident on the Illinois side, westbound 5570 at 64. That has caused a delay. And Route 3 is slowing at Monsanto Avenue, all due to a slow-moving train. This report is brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the largest, most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis. It's full of the latest, most custom designs. It's located in Chesterfield Valley, and there you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, we have a resource that we use here quite often. It's the Show Me Institute, and we often get guests that are related to the Show Me Institute. David Stokes comes to mind. Brenda Talent, who's the wife of former United States Senator Jim Talent. But you can also use them as a resource as well, and they always have really good position papers and educational methods of helping people get informed on different issues. They focus on education, healthcare, the economy, state and local government, corporate welfare. On that topic, they have a great piece, you know, that offers sort of the lessons from Kansas and the question from Missouri on some of the stadium stuff. You know, of course, the state of Kansas, and now it looks like the state of Indiana is offering a bunch of money to the Bears. They did that to the Chiefs. The Chiefs decided to move to Kansas, but some real important lessons from, you know, that and those experiments that we can learn here in Missouri. And the Show Me Institute pointed that out in a piece that they have on their website right now. So go to the website, check it out. There's a lot of topics. There's links to different interviews that we've done here at 97.1 FM Talk. The Show Me Institute, it's showmeinstitute.org is the website, and tell me you heard about it here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Triton Exteriors, St. Louis roofing, siding, and gutter systems. We'll take care of you and your home. We're #1 in the Ladue, Kirkwood, and Webster area. James Hardy certified. Visit triton.stl.com to be connected with a James Hardy expert and receive a free estimate. Triton-stl.com or call 314-717-1159. That's 314-717-1159. Triton Exteriors, St. Louis #1 James Hardy specialists.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, burning, tingling, pain, and loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we have amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands or balance issues, call us at Comprehensive Integrated Health today for a nerve damage screening. The screening screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Call 636-538-5188. That's 636-538-5188 for your free nerve damage screening. 636-538-5188.
Beat the spring rush and call Zero Res today. Mark Cox here. Springing forward feels better on freshly cleaned carpets and floors. Let Zero Res remove that lingering grime and get your home ready for the brighter days ahead. Right now, this month, buy one, get one room of carpet clean free. Unlimited rooms of carpet when you ask for the 97.1 special. Call 314-474-2020 or go online at ZeroResSTL.com. Spell it backward or forward, it spells the same. Zero Res.
Heidi Ricken, Provost of Ricken Financial, understands the importance of financial stability in your retirement plans.
If there's something we can do to help benefit your financial future and provide more strength and stability in your retirement plan, that's exactly what we do here. And we do so on a complimentary basis.
Call today, 314-207-6211 or online at rickenfinancial.com and join us for Kickin' with the Rickens, Sundays at 1 p.m. right here on 97.1 FM Talk. Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Feeling and looking more like springtime over the next several days, and that means our periods of showers and a couple of thunderstorms will be possible overnight tonight. The key is not raining all the time. Springtime pattern, 50 for the low. Wednesday, periods of showers, a couple of thunderstorms. Could be some strong storms, mainly to our south. On Wednesday, 65 degrees. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Waves of missiles and drones. Lisa Brady, Fox News.
The Iranians are continuing their ballistic missile launches against this country.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv a short time ago.
The map for alerts runs the entirety of central Israel from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv. And this is an indication that there may be more than one launch happening at this moment.
Iran also launching more drones at Mideast neighbors, one landing near the U.S. consulate in Dubai. The U.S. embassy in Saudi Arabia also coming under attack. But Secretary of State Marco Rubio says personnel at diplomatic sites had been drawn down before the fighting. The State Department is working to evacuate hundreds of U.S. citizens.
About 9,000 Americans have been able to leave the Middle East since the start of airstrikes on Saturday, but Secretary of State Marco Rubio says there are 1,500 more looking for assistance to get out.
The impediment we're facing now, in many cases, we've had a couple instances in which we have planes in the air and on the way, and unfortunately the airspace gets closed and they have to turn back around, so we're working through those challenges.
Rubio is urging all Americans in the region to register with the State Department so they can be notified when options open up, including commercial, charter, and military flights.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Rubio was one of several top officials giving closed-door briefings on Iran to the full House and Senate today.
Well, I think it was clearly a preemptive strike, and I think there was an imminent threat there.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune says American assets in the region were under threat from Iranian missiles and that the president had authority to strike, but some lawmakers are pushing for a war powers vote to limit further action without congressional approval. President Trump telling reporters he believes Iran was preparing to attack.
Based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first, and I didn't want that to happen.
The president meeting today with Germany's chancellor while criticizing the UK and Spain for not backing U.S. airstrikes. America is listening to Fox News.
Are you an adult with uncontrolled moderate to severe Crohn's disease symptoms and still packing a backup bag of clothes? Just in case? Skyrizi Risankizumab Riza can help you take control of your Crohn's. Feel significant symptom relief, including less abdominal pain and fewer bowel movements at 4 weeks. Plus, Skyrizi is proven to help people achieve remission and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Individual results may vary. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated made for Crohn's. Ready to take control of your Crohn's? Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's disease.
Control is everything to me.
Learn more at skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Tuesday afternoon in St. Louis. Fred's here. Sue Thomas. Ethan's working hard in the other room. He might join us for Sue's News. We got that coming up here in just a second. Every once in a while, Fred knows this, I will text him something or email him something, sometimes at very random times for this segment in particular, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So,
usually
Sue,
early
gosh,
in the morning.
I hope that I'm not stealing something from Sue's News.
Uh-oh, tell me what.
Maybe I should check. Do you have anything in Sue's News coming up here about the Kentucky meat shower?
I do not.
Okay. Have you ever heard of the Kentucky meat shower?
What? No.
Neither had I. Here we go. March 3rd, 1876. Okay? You want to do the math on that, Fred? How many years is that? Sounds like
about 150.
150 years, right? Something like that. This is weird. The Kentucky meat shower was a bizarre event in March of 1876 when chunks of raw meat rained down on a farm in Olympia Springs, Kentucky, covering a 100 by 50-yard area. The most widely accepted theory is that a flock of vultures, startled mid-flight, vomited their recent meals, which could explain the very tissue types reported.
All of
them? I guess. While some locals ate the meat, scientific analysis later suggested it was lung tissue from a horse or a human infant, though the exact origin remains a mystery, with theories ranging from a hoax, I'm going to go with that, to a meteorological phenomenon.
Yeah,
but apparently this happened in Beth County, Kentucky.
That is so weird.
On this date, chunks of red meat. Locals described the meat as tasting like mutton, deer, or bear, and some ate it.
Okay, if meat falls out of the sky,
I don't think you eat it.
Are you eating it?
No.
Yeah, I rarely eat green things that come up from the ground.
Yeah,
I'm not going to
exactly.
eat red meat from the sky.
Oh my gosh, that's
That
just
is
horrible. But
nuts.
I had to point that out. Okay, so there's I used to do these movie junkets for a long time with Channel 4, and you go out to Hollywood, you stay at the Beverly Hills Four Seasons, which is pretty nice. You see a movie, you interview the cast, right? Got to know, this is interesting because I started doing these when this kid, I think, was 20 years old. I don't even know if he was 21 years old. His name is Jake Hamilton. Good-looking kid, and he was one of those kids that stood out because all of us were senior in status, if you will. Some of the guys that were doing these junkets had literally done it for decades. And here comes this kind of good-looking kid with slick hair, and he's talking a big game. Well, he ends up doing real well for himself. And he ends up, I think I said WGN, he's at WFLD Channel 32 in Chicago. And everyone who does interviews in Hollywood knows Jake. He has a YouTube channel called Jake's Takes. Very engaging. I mean, I wish, sometimes I say, I wish I could buy stock in people like musicians because, I knew this kid was going to be good because he worked hard at it and he never took no for an answer and he edited his own stuff. And everything I've seen from him has been top-notch and really professional. So I want to say that. And I don't know him that well. He's been on the show. I used to hang out with him a little at the junkets. But he was trying to get back to California to do the junket for Project Hail Mary. And his bus, he was on vacation in the Grand Canyon. His bus broke down. So they decided, because it's Chicago, big market, to do the interview via satellite with Ryan Gosling. And in the background, Ryan Gosling kind of notices that things are a little different.
Ryan, good to see you again, my friend. How are you?
Are you in a volcano?
Okay, so I'm actually in the middle of my own Project Hail Mary because I was rushing back from a tour of the Grand Canyon to do this interview, and we broke down on the side of the road.
No!
And I am on the side of the road surrounded by Rocky's family.
There's like 4 cars on a trailer just went by behind you. Just get one of those.
Obviously, I would do anything not to miss an interview with you, man. So I appreciate you still taking the time.
And you look like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, like the one where he's climbing.
I hope you know that this is not what I wanted for our interview, man, but I appreciate you taking the time.
This is amazing. This is not, I don't want you to be stranded, but this is The production value on this
is weirdly kind of works for this movie. I don't know if we can pan over. Like that's literally that's my bus over there.
So Jake keeps trying to kind of bring it back to the topic. Ryan Gosling, but Ryan Gosling doesn't want to do anything. He wants to talk about what he sees.
And we're broken
Oh,
down
it's
on
a
this
bus.
So I'd love to know, even though there are 3 different films in space, how are the acting experiences different for you?
Do you have help on the way? Hold on. Let's just first things first. Do you have water?
We have water. We do have water.
Are you staying hydrated?
We are staying hydrated in the middle of the desert. Yes.
You're sure, and you're sure you have enough water for everyone, because that could get ugly.
Listen, I said I've got water.
That's what I was gonna say. Squirrel away a little. Start squirreling. ABS, man. Always be squirreling in a situation.
Always be squirreling. That's the Hamilton family motto, Ryan Gosling. Listen, I've got water and I've got hair product. I'm good to go. And you know the best part of this? My girlfriend is holding the phone.
Can she turn it around, please?
Babe,
By the way, he does. Jake has nice hair. He's got hair product for sure.
Hi.
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 This is Iris.
Hi, Iris.
On the phone.
This is Ryan.
You're MVP, Iris.
I know, this is fun.
That was a good question that I asked, by the way.
It was a great question. Sorry. Thank you, Iris. I mean, I am worried about your hydration. Do you have any? You got a power bar?
We've got what do we got? We've got about a half a bag of gummy worms.
Okay.
And a can-do attitude, much like Grace does in the film.
Special thanks to Iris.
You're welcome.
Yeah, she's trying. So he plays a school teacher. Ryan Gosling is a school teacher named Rylan Grace, who wakes up alone on a spaceship light years away from Earth with no recollection of how he got there. And then as his memory recovers, he kind of pieces together the plot that sent him through the galaxy. It looks interesting. I've seen the trailer for it, and I love him a lot. But that couldn't have gone better for Jake, because that's going viral, and the Hollywood Reporter and Variety
That's awesome.
are writing about it. So he for Ryan Gosling in the movie, it couldn't have turned out better either, because now you have even more publicity. That's always a fun thing, by the way, as someone who's done these interviews. When they take a turn, it's fun because you don't know what kind of turn they're going to take. And the one that I always kind of refer to, and you can Google this, I have this up on my Instagram page too. I was doing the Kung Fu Panda 2 junket with Jack Black and Dustin Hoffman in the same room together. And there was a trailer that had been playing for it where Jack Black's character, who is the panda, stares at the audience. So if you were going to Ronnie's and you were seeing another movie, you would see the trailer for that, and he would kind of do like a staring contest, right? So I do the interview with Dustin and Jack, or Dusty as I call him, and I said, well, my kids would not forgive me if I don't do a staring contest, right? So Dustin Hoffman stops and he goes, oh, wait. And he takes his watch off. And he goes, I got to time this. And it's all very quick and it happens very fast. But there we go. We had a little staring contest, Jack Black and I. If you go to my Instagram page, which is Mark Talk on Instagram, it's like the first thing that you see up there because I don't post very much anymore outside of stories. But that was a blast. And those two guys were so much fun. I have to tell, I've told this story before, but this is such a crazy story. I have to share it again because it came up. So this was also when you had to change tapes out. And I bring that up because now it's all HD cards and you get in that room with a celebrity and you go. Boom.
Oh, yeah.
And then you walk out. But when you had tapes, it was awesome because you would sit there maybe only 60 seconds or a minute and a half or 2 minutes before the interview started. But you could try to build a rapport.
Yeah.
Right? And you could talk to someone. Like when I interviewed Queen Latifah, she's like, the Lou. And she loved St. Louis. And she started talking about the Fox and stuff like that. So I sit down and I say, Mark Reardon, KMOX and KMOV St. Louis. And Dusty says, Jeannie Munson. And he starts telling me this story about like the first love of his life. Jeannie Munson, who's from Kirkwood, Missouri.
Wow.
He meets her at this acting camp in Colorado. He's like, if you ever see Jeannie, tell her I say hello. So I come back and I tell that story on the radio. I'm on a big station on KMOX, and I think someone is going to know Jeannie Munson. I hear nothing. I'm like, that is unbelievable. So a couple of days after that, I go on. You remember this story, Fred, right? I go on in, what city was he in? It wasn't Milwaukee. My friend Phil Cianciola, who was in Oshkosh, I think, at this time, doing radio. And I was still doing some movie stuff for him. So I called him and I did, a review or whatever I was talking about, probably the interview. And I tell him the Dustin Hoffman story. And about a day later, I get an email from Jeannie Munson.
Oh, my gosh.
And Jeannie, I don't even think she heard it, but somebody in Wisconsin, because she had moved up there, had heard the story.
Oh, my gosh.
How weird is that?
That's
so
super
I got to
weird.
see, I should probably try to dig up that email because I bet I could find it. And she goes, if you ever see, this is why I was joking about calling him Dusty. She goes, if you ever see Dusty again, tell him I send my love.
Oh, my
And I
gosh.
never did see Dustin Hoffman again. I was always kind of hoping to see him at an award show because I would kind of go regularly, and I was going to tell him that. I thought it was a great
That would have been great.
I know, but how about that's a really interesting story.
Wow.
Maybe I said Kirkwood. I think it was Webster Groves, by the way.
Okay.
Because he was like, Jeannie Munson, Webster Groves, Missouri. And it was pretty cool. There's my Dustin Hoffman
That really
story.
is awesome.
Didn't you also use the staring video, like when he had to speak at a class of high school students who were blowing you off?
Well, yeah, because my sons, when they were in junior high and high school, every once in a while, I don't do this as much, and I think a lot of it really stopped with Trump. I used to get invited to do a lot, but then when things got really divisive, that kind of stopped. But yeah, high school, I don't know if you've ever done this, Sue, but if you're in front of like young kids, really any kids, they look at you like you're, an alien or something like that. So what I started to do with the kids is I would open my whole deal up with that video. I had a friend of mine that edited it together, Tim Christian, if you're listening out there, props to you. And I would get their attention from the beginning, and that got them interested. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I know who Jack Black is and stuff like that.
That's good.
It was an icebreaker, if you will, and very necessary. I don't wish that upon anyone, by the way. You know, what's funny about that is John O'Leary's story, and I think it's pretty accurate. If you see the movie, have you seen it yet, Sue?
No.
You got
I
to
need
watch it.
to.
It's on Netflix. John O'Leary, Soul on Fire. He was nearly, burned. Well, he was burned on 90% of his body, was left essentially for dead. Jack Buck is a really important part of that story. But the way that he got into public speaking is that after, the incident, years later, he had gone to SLU and he was doing construction stuff, and someone was familiar with his story, and it was like someone who had a girl that was in a Girl Scout troop. And the way it's portrayed in the movie, I think, is relatively accurate. He just tanked. He was awful, just awful. Like, you'd never think that a guy who did that could go on to great things. But so these things happen, and I thought it was kind of funny. Anyway, we're coming back with Sue's News.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the Illinois side, we had that accident westbound 5570 at 64. It has been cleared. Things look better through there. Eastbound 64, though, is pretty slow on either side of 157. And we've got 44 westbound slow in front of the Arch grounds in what we call the depressed section that goes down through there. And westbound 64, it's a slow go approaching Kings Highway now out through Clayton Skinker. And then things open up a bit and look much better. And westbound 70 is still a good run out of downtown. Now, southbound 170, slow pockets south of Olive through 64. And southbound 270 is slowing on either side of Olive. 55 is a slow go headed for Bates, but looks fine to the south of there. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to celebrate the anniversary of the Kentucky meat shower, and I'll keep you posted on that. Sue's News coming up.
Annie here, and I can proudly say no more spiders in my home. I use Point Pest Control 4 times a year, and I haven't seen any, not a single one, since they've been in my home. Mention Annie and get 10% on top of any other special. Point Pest Control, 636-798-0023.
If you are thinking about retirement seriously because it's really coming up on you, and you thought, oh, yeah, I have saved, this is great, and then you get closer and start to realize, oh, but wait a minute, is this enough? How are you supposed to know? And how do you know how taxes work in retirement? That kind of thing drives me nuts. But here is why Financial and Tax Architects was formed in the first place. Because people don't know that. We generally don't know. We know to save, and that's it. So they put on a class called Retirement Planning 101 that shows you some of these things. It's one night, it's 90 minutes long, and you just call and register. Go to one, and you're kind of going to get a handle on how it works. And you can see how FTA operates and see if you don't want to work with them and have them help you. So call 314-888-5101, 314-888-5101. Start by going to a class. Just making the phone call will make you feel better.
100 years. That's how long Overhead Door Company of St. Louis has been repairing and replacing garage doors. A century of trust in St. Louis. Always look for the iconic red ribbon of Overhead Door Company of St. Louis for same-day repair service and no extra charge for evening or Saturday service. Trust your friends at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Schedule online at overheaddoorstlouis.com. That's overheaddoorstlouis.com.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You know your customers. Ralph likes his coffee black on Fridays, but Mondays he takes a little cream. Jennifer comes in every 3 years when her lease is up to get the newer and better model. And for some reason, pepperoni pizza sells like crazy on Friday nights. Who knew? At Odyssey, we have the expertise to get your media plan done right. With ads like you're hearing right now, to targeted social media campaigns, search engine optimization, and location-based advertising. Advertise with Odyssey and help us grow your business. Visit ads.odyssey.com.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Got Fish Fry Fridays continuing this week at Assumption Catholic Church on Mattis Road in South County. It's going to be great. We're live at 3 o'clock. It's all sponsored by Apache Village RV Center. We have the roundtable set already for State Senators Jeff Smith and John Lamping will both be on the panel. Let's do this on a Tuesday.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
First of all, Mark Reardon sent me something today that's disturbing, so if you have time today and you want to look it up, it was a balloon, a hot air balloon that crashed into, what would you call that? It looked like a radio tower.
Like a radio tower, like how we broadcast from a transmitter. That's what it looked like.
And
it was a tall structure.
Oh, it's nuts. So if you want to look that up, I've had dreams, not of crashing a balloon into, because I don't know if I'm going to ever be in a balloon. That would freak me out, I think. But of having to climb down from like a really high height on one of those metal things. Oh, no way.
See, the thing is I've told you, I've been in a hot air balloon twice, and I recommend it highly. It's one of the most amazing things. But, I mean, these guys are 900 feet up in a cell tower.
See?
The balloon is shredded. They're basically hanging onto the tower. There's one person that's in the bucket that they're trying to rescue over this, cord, and he's got to slide. I would say it's about 10 to 15 feet from the balloon over to the structure, the radio tower. Yeah. And that just gets them 900 feet in the air off the balloon thing. So they still got to make their way down. It's nuts. It really is.
I read it. They said there were 21 people on the ground. And just in case something happened, a total of 37 firefighters had to report to this.
Because something could have gone wrong at a lot of different points. So it was a hell of a rescue. It really was.
So if you want to freak yourself out, go ahead and watch that.
So you did helicopters all the time, but
helicopters, no problem. But when you're out in the wind and you've got to
it's different.
No, I can't.
Well, you also have to land. Yeah. the landings are a little rough, too.
Yeah. Happy National Cold Cuts Day.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
What is your favorite cold cut, Mark Reardon?
I believe I celebrated today with a little salami myself.
I like salami.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're not in music radio.
Salami.
What did you say? Yes.
That was you almost gave us a soundbite for the ages, Sue. It was very close.
Tried to dial off on the end.
You caught
there.
yourself.
Yeah, I did. I've been around a long time.
Yes, that's a pro. Pro move.
And a happy National Soup It Forward Day. Which means if you make a big thing of soup, Fred, you got to take it to Joyce next door.
Oh, Marie does that all the time.
Yes, you want to be friendly and hand out more soup. It's also National I Want You to Be Happy Day. So we'll do that for Mark Reardon. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. On this day in history, and I did the instrumental so we can play it. In 1931, The Star-Spangled Banner officially became the national anthem of the United States. That was 95 years ago today. And there's a million versions. I almost pulled Whitney Houston. Kelly Clarkson does one. I mean, there's all kinds of great versions, but it's just kind of cool to hear, isn't it? Especially coming off the Olympics where you got to hear it whenever anybody got a medal.
This April or May, the 5th grade class at Stanton Elementary, the Stanton Singers, featuring Alexa Reardon and her group of friends, will be singing the national anthem. You might remember last year. I missed it, too. We were in Greece last year.
Oh.
They did Take Me Out to the Ball Game, but they're doing the national anthem.
Oh,
I don't have a
fun.
date for that yet, but
Okay.
that should be good.
And I think historians credit Major League Baseball back in the 20s and 30s for popularizing
Is
the
that
national
right?
anthem.
Oh,
right?
well, that's interesting. Yeah, and you watch it before pretty much any game. You listen to it. That's a good point. All right, there is a weird sports story that I did not know about until today. There was drama at the U.S. Half Marathon Championship in Atlanta. 4 runners who were in the lead. They're going. They were mistakenly taken off course by the lead vehicle. The lead vehicle goes to the wrong direction, takes a wrong turn. That most likely cost Jess McLean the win and $20,000 in prize money. And they were just following the car. Here's the woman who ended up in first place, Molly Bourne, talking about how she feels about the win.
I don't really feel like a U.S. champion just because of the whole situation that went down at the end. So, yeah, those girls were like pretty far ahead of me, so I was pretty sure I was coming in fourth. But I saw Carrie make the wrong turn, and they like corrected her like fairly quickly compared to the lead pack. And then the directors were like, go straight. So I guess I was the only one who went straight at that turn. But yeah, I guess I was just very, very lucky, but it doesn't feel like I won.
You know, what percentage
Wow.
of people would respond to that controversy in the way that she did? I mean, that was very gracious.
It was very
and
gracious.
I think some people would have said, hey, if you follow the rules, follow the rules.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting. But there's no way to make up for that, right?
No, there isn't. I mean, unless you ran the whole thing again. Which
How does that happen?
And I'll tell you what, I have run multiple half marathons and never a full. I'm just not that
That's
girl.
okay. There's nothing wrong with
But
that.
when you run a half, and they'll have clear signs that say full marathon this way, half this way. But this was a half marathon.
Yeah, there was no full
There
part
was
of it,
no
right?
full, so it would have been really signed up. It should have been really clear. But these women were just following the lead vehicle, which I get.
Is that common to have half marathons that are just half marathons?
No, that's why it was a U.S. championship.
Okay,
of
so most
half.
of those people are running in full marathons, but they're doing halves.
Well, they may be, since it's the U.S. Half Marathon Championship, this may be their specialty.
Right.
So we're looking for the best half marathon runner in the U.S.
Right. And we didn't
now
find it.
We did not find it. Oh, and that poor guy who was driving and took him the wrong way. But what were you doing? Oh,
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Oh, that's terrible. All right, British Columbia has announced that it's switching to permanent daylight saving time. They are going to spring forward this Sunday and then keep it that way. Now, apparently, they've been hoping to do it alongside California and Oregon and Washington, but got sick of waiting. They're hoping these states will follow suit. Now, the Yukon province, just north of BC, switched to permanent daylight saving time in 2020, so it's not unprecedented, but no one really lives up there. So British Columbia is Canada's 3rd largest province. So they're going to try it.
We should just rebel, okay? We're going to spring forward. Seriously.
Right.
Because let's just stick that way here. Congress isn't going to do it because they're sitting on their asses. So every state needs to rebel. Once the fall hits, we ain't falling backward. We're just going forward. Boom.
Yeah, except we'll be late to everything or early.
Not
Whatever.
if we all do it. Not if
Oh.
the country comes together, Sue. We're so good at that. I mean,
Yeah, we are.
Unifying the country shouldn't be too tough.
Let me
Yeah, the
just
crowd
say,
knew that.
Let me just say, with the state of our clocks in this studio, we might have already done it.
Okay,
That's a
you
good
know
point,
what?
Fred.
That's a solid point, Fred. I've got some. This is just the weirdest story out of Florida. Shocker. A Florida man who had been missing since Valentine's Day was discovered over a week later, trapped in mud up to his shoulders.
Alive?
Yes. 36-year-old Andrew Giddens, and he was found after some officers spotted his abandoned car close to an industrial plant that produces sand. And employees started looking for him, and one saw him in a pit. He was alert, he could talk, but had gone several days without food or water. It was hard to reach him. He was surrounded by unstable ground. They had to have specialized crews from the fire department come out and get him out. And he was initially hospitalized in critical condition, but he's now expected to make a full recovery, which is incredible because he was supposedly stuck there for 4 days.
That's
up to his shoulder.
Unreal.
And one more day, they said, could have been fatal. It's not 100% clear why he was there. Apparently he was upset about a breakup, and hopefully he was wandering. They're not really sure, but at least he's going to be fine. And finally, in news, we have today's random fact. Oh, so many. Okay. There are roughly 2 billion parking spots across America. That's 7 spaces for every car, covering an area about the size of West Virginia.
There you go. A little random fact for you here on a Tuesday afternoon.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. Target posted mixed results in its holiday quarter with a beat on earnings per share but a miss on revenue. And for the 4th quarter in a row, customer traffic at stores and on its website has fallen. New CEO Michael Fidelki, who took over on February 1st, calls the report an important milestone on our path back to growth. Shares were still up, though, 6.75% despite the news. Apple continued its new product rollout today. It unveiled a new MacBook Air and a MacBook Pro. The Air starts at $1,099 and comes with the company's M5 processor and double the storage. The Pro starts at $1,699, but the top-of-the-line MacBook Pro 16-inch with all the bells and whistles is over $7,300. Stocks ended the day mixed. The Dow Industrials lost 403 points, ending the day at 48,501. NASDAQ was off 232. The S&P 500 down 65. That's Your Money Now.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SOUND to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SOUND for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SOUND for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
You know, you've heard of clinics over the years, obviously, that offer testosterone replacement therapy. But the game day folks here in St. Louis, Game Day Men's Health, there's a difference because the quality is different. The whole office experience is different. And Game Day really is the industry-leading men's health and wellness clinic right now. They have more than 400 clinics in Canada and here in America. And they have a great location. I've gotten to know Matt Lawrence out in Chesterfield at 6440 and Olive and Clarkson. And they're still offering you guys, if you're interested in testosterone therapy to boost energy or anything else that they offer, medical weight loss, anti-aging and longevity. I think I need some of that. Sexual wellness, ED treatments. They have peptides and vitamins, which have really blown up. I understand that there's misinformation about that online. Matt and the team at Game Day can set you straight. So you take the 1-hour visit. That's a free visit. You get a testosterone PSA test. In 20 minutes, they have results for you. Then they come up with a game plan. There is no one-size-fits-all. Depending on what you're looking for, they have a pharmacy in-house. That helps a lot. So check out the Game Day difference. They really are different. They're very proud. Matt's proud of the office, world-class, that they have in Chesterfield. The website, GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
4:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
There's been a lot of things that have been said in media here the last few days since these strikes in Iran. By the way, the president and Marco Rubio both had some additional comments today that we'll share as the afternoon moves along. But this has to be, MS Now, I guess they call it now, MSNBC, Chris Hayes, some of the people over there. I had some Rachel Maddow audio yesterday that I never played because she came off as such an idiot. Just to recap, my position on this is I support the action that took place over the weekend in taking out the leadership of that regime. I just have a lot of questions about what's going to happen next and how we're going to do this and, how we're going to pay for it and all that. And I do think that there needs to be more transparency. But there are people that are making, judgment calls on this thing that are just crazy. And by the way, there's always hypocrisy. So you have the same people that backed attacks like this when President Obama was in office that now have, big issues with it, and they're calling it out. But listen to Chris Hayes over at MS Now and his comparison, his analogy here.
Remember, there was one instance in my lifetime when we in America experienced death from above. September 11, 2001, one of the darkest days I've ever been through, that we've all ever been through. The shared trauma from that one day caused a decades-long shift in American culture and foreign policy and American politics. It defined multiple generations. For us, that kind of violence is an anomaly. It is a once-in-a-lifetime tragedy. For other people in other countries, the terror is commonplace because, in part, of the kinds of war of aggression that Donald Trump just started.
Okay, so is it just me, or did he just compare what happened over the weekend to our experience with 9/11? Because that's sure what it sounded like. That is unbelievable. It really is. And going back to Obama, he bombed 8 countries without congressional authorization, and he existed in the Democrat Party without complaints. He had exceeded the 60 to 90-day limit of the War Powers Resolution of 1973 several times. So, the whole pre-authorization, congressional authorization issue, that's not really what's at stake for me. What's at stake for me is concern about the broader picture and the polling that's coming in. We talked about it a little bit in the last hour. Maybe sometimes I focus on the polling a little bit too much. But look, there's a lot on the line here in this country. And one of the reasons that I took a real strong stand for President Trump over Kamala Harris, outside of the fact that she was awful, was because of our anniversary, the 250th anniversary of this country. And I think that's something that needs to be featured, highlighted, celebrated. But if we're at war with another nation and this is going to take longer than expected, I don't think that that's going to work so well for the American people and the way that we have with the mood heading into the midterms. So, I have some concerns moving forward. And I think based on the climate right now, I think they're justified. Now, what I think is interesting is, I always say in situations like this, too, why wouldn't there be more Democrats who would come over and support this? Because it seems like John Fetterman is the only one. And, by the same token, maybe there should be a few more Republicans that aren't just going hook, line, and sinker. Maybe Rand Paul's that guy. I haven't heard what he said this week. What's interesting about yesterday is, I'll have to check today, our 2 senators, Senator Hawley and Senator Schmidt, relatively quiet on that front yesterday in the aftermath. Here's John Fetterman, though, the only guy in the Democrat Party that says anything that makes common sense.
I've already announced that I would vote it down
That would be the second time I voted against that. And I would encourage everyone that's watching this to just read through what the Word Power resolution from 1973 requires.
Yeah, so he's talking about the War Powers Act here and whether or not Congress should give authority.
It says that the president has to provide 48 hours of notification of what's happened. And I've actually read through the letter from the president to the president pro tem, and that made that standard right now. And then you have 60 days up to another 30 extra days to 90 before then that would force us to withdraw those troops. And then after, that's why it requires then to get permission from Congress. But neither one one has been met and the other one hasn't even activated.
Yeah, so it doesn't, the whole congressional authorization issue is moot. It's not even something that we should be talking about. So then Senator Fennerman's asked, well, why did Democrats oppose this?
It's been strange. Why can't we all rally around behind our military? 50 of those leaders were eliminated in just one strike. I mean, I think most of the world really should celebrate what's just happened and look at the kind of people that now are condemning it. You know, they're the far left and those kind of people. Now, ask yourself, if you're defending and decrying and defending Iran, well, what's wrong with your values? Where are you at with these things? I mean, pick a side. And if you want to pick Iran's side, that's truly bizarre.
So I was, tooling across some television last night. At one point, I noticed that the panel was on with Abby Phillip on CNN, and Jennings was on there. And, by the way, here's something. There's another dynamic going on with Scott Jennings. There's a lot of people that are more, I would say, establishment Republicans, like Jerry Baker from the Wall Street Journal took a shot on Twitter at Jennings for his take. So, like, he's getting attacked from all sides, even from within. But I was watching last night. I wanted to see how he handled this and whether or not he was supporting this and he was all in. And the panel was just as goofy as they normally are. But here's Scott last night.
You're asking a broad question about justification and what we intend to do with these guys over the long term. The justification is, A, we had a huge problem with the ballistic missiles, and we did believe that if Israel, according to the Secretary of State, attacked, and they intended to attack, that our bases were going to be targeted. They were not willing to absorb that attack, so we attacked. That is what the Secretary of State has said. You can agree with it, disagree with it, but that is the justification. That's number one. Number two,
you think that makes sense? You think?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that the Iranians are not shy about firing ballistic missiles across the region. I was in Israel last summer.
Yeah, so he made a strong case for it last night. I'm going to take a quick break here because we have Asra Nomani on the line, and we had her scheduled, and I want to make sure I talk to her this afternoon. So we're going to take a quick break. We're coming back, though.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Volume on southbound 55 headed for Bates in the construction zone, but south of there, we look fine. And westbound 64 is lined up approaching Hampton. Now it's approaching Kings Highway past Hampton, out through McCausland, a little bit of 270 as well. 70 westbound is good out of downtown. Little moderate volume at Jennings Station Road. And we've got volume southbound 170 ramping onto eastbound 40. And if you're headed into Illinois, there's a little bit of moderate volume headed for the Poplar, but it's fine on the bridge. But there's a jam on eastbound 64, and it starts near 255 to a point east of 157, all due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, perfect example here this week of why I want you to get together with the team from the Retirement Advisory Group. The market's been down the last couple of days reacting to things that are happening internationally. We know gas prices are starting to spike a little bit. If you're nearing retirement, if you're far away from retirement, if you're in retirement, you're probably a little freaked out just by inflation and everything else that's going on. So maybe you should sit down with the team from the Retirement Advisory Group. We do 5 seminars a year. We're going to have another one that we announce very, very soon. That's a group setting. Some people a little bit more comfortable in a group setting. But these are things that really should not be delayed. And if you're nearing retirement and you're wondering how to make your money last throughout retirement, how about a different perspective and a different philosophy? And that philosophy from Thomas and the team is safely linking to the market. They'll tell you most people that come to them have the same question. It's a basic question. What can we do with this money so we can live comfortably the rest of our lives? Well, they're going to come up with a strategy to protect your nest egg from market losses. They build your own personalized retirement income plan that will generate you an income for the rest of your life. They put you in control of your money and it's a worry-free retirement. Get with the team today at retirementkey.com. Thomas Helbig and the Retirement Advisory Group.
This month, 97.1 FM Talk in Action spotlights Helmets First, a nonprofit promoting kids' safety through free bike helmets, education, and partnerships with local police. Officers help fit helmets and connect with kids in the community. Learn how you can help at helmetsfirst.com.
License number GL2500615.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Home power used to be simple. Now the car plugs in, the scooter plugs in, the space heater plugs in, and your electric panel starts popping.
That sounds bad, but I like popcorn.
Popcorn is great, sparks are not. Call Grasser. We'll upgrade your panel so you can run it all.
Electric and plumbing, the Grasser way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
At Graybar, we know your time is money. That's why our services go beyond parts and products. With kitting, pre-assembly, wire carts, and Graybar smart reels that keep you moving. We stage materials and manage logistics so you can spend less time sorting and more time installing. And with locations nationwide, we deliver when and where you need it, working to make your job easier every step of the way. Yep, Graybar does that.
If you can sense spring in the air, you're not alone. It's a perfect time to get Corel Roofing Company to come over and give you a free roofing inspection. Mark Cox here. You know, my friend Curtis has been at this a long time. Here's what he can do. If your insurance company has denied coverage for your roof, call Curtis. He specializes in working with insurance companies. You can get a second assessment from them, and often they're able to work with that insurance adjuster to find a way to get it covered. They are honest. They're going to give you a true evaluation of what's going on. Curtis is not going to overcommit on your roofing job. A lot of other companies do this. Curtis feels like quality suffers and customer service drops off. It's important to pay attention to details. Quality materials, quality workmanship. It's certainly what I got when Corel Roofing put a brand new roof on my house. Call 314-222-9529 right now. Tell them Mark Cox told you to call, or go to CorelRoofingCo.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Tech Talk Tuesdays, that means George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet coming up with a bunch of great topics at 5:32. Asra Nomani is back with us this afternoon. She is the senior editor of investigations at Fox News Digital, has an interesting report about some of the things related to protests with what's happening in Iran. But Asra, good afternoon. How are you? Welcome back.
Oh, my gosh. I can't believe the way the world is shaken right now.
Yeah. Well, what's your reaction overall to what happened over the weekend? The attacks, the surprise attacks in the, well, not completely surprised because we were having this buildup for weeks, but they did do it during daylight, which was a little bit of a surprise.
Well, this has been 5 decades in the making, as you know. As I've spoken to you before, I grew up in the U.S. as an immigrant from India, from a, Muslim family with a lot of critical thinking. And so I came of age when the revolution arrived in Iran and saw the extremism of the Shia interpretation of Islam that the mullahs there preach exported to the world. They didn't just export oil and all of this other stuff, but terrorism too, as you know, and this strict interpretation that really defined Muslim society for the last 5 decades. And so the people that are, so happy are folks that I have followed for decades now and supported in their efforts to bring freedom back to their country. And so that's why what's happening on our streets is so shocking when it comes to this network that is supporting the regime in Iran.
Yeah, so I pulled out of here, Sue, I don't know if you noticed this, but there was a protest right across the street that was anti-war. We had people in St. Louis, though, dancing in the streets on Saturday, celebrating, Iranians that were here, and we saw that throughout the country as well. But you've linked some of the funding here on the pro-Iran forces that are out there trying to spread propaganda as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so everybody's now well familiar with this protest industry that has unleashed in America over the last few years. after the October 7th attack, they turned their sights on Israel, they supported Hamas, and they were anti-American. And so they pivoted over the last year to the ICE enforcement and going after the United States and the Trump administration, along with folks like Elon Musk. And now they have pivoted again over the last few days to support the Islamic Republic of Iran, the actual regime. And what we reported at Fox News Digital is how this network of the far left socialists has aligned with these Islamists that want theocracy in Iran. And the important part of this that everyone will really understand is we've all heard about the axis of evil, Iran, Russia, and China. And so this protest network is an extension of that same axis because the far left socialists are funded by a tech tycoon named Neville Roy Singham, who's based in Shanghai, supporting the Chinese Communist Party. And then the Iranian that are pro-regime are supporting, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and then you have the communists in there that have, just wish that Russia could rule the world.
But it's amazing how quickly they organize and pivot. I mean, maybe you got to give them a little credit for their organization because they move fast, don't they?
Well, what it is it's like if you think about, Thanksgiving, what do we have? Giving Tuesday, right? So every year, that it's going to roll around. So you have every company's got their little hashtag campaign. They've got their signs and their ads printed out and their little jingles. And so these guys are pivoting on every headline. They call themselves a rapid response teams. They call all these protests direct action. It's an industry. And so just like Small Business Tuesday happens, on Giving Tuesday and all of this, what they do is they have their graphics ready. They have their printing literally in their offices. They staple it together. They print it out, add it to yardsticks and tubes, and everybody's got a job. There's literally a guy who is the drummer, causing all the sounds. They've got their megaphones. And so that takes money, and that's why it's so important to follow the money and understand that we see it on the streets of St. Louis, but the money goes back to this tech tycoon who is working aligned with the Chinese Communist Party. And how does that all fit in? Because the Chinese Communist Party is messaging to stop the war, to stop the actions against Iran, and to let Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, be, because they take their oil. They have their relationship that they are trying to protect.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, they're a big part of this. There's no doubt about that. Asra Nomani is here, Senior Editor of Investigations at Fox News Digital. One thing that, obviously this is war in master planning. I don't know how we segue from this and what's going to happen in the next few weeks to a regime that will be acceptable to the United States. Do the people of Iran finally step up and have a say and demand freedom? Because let's face it, we've been in moments in the Middle East like this before.
Yeah. Well, what's unfortunate is that the regime has such a tight grip on the people, and they have had 5 decades of indoctrination. And so there are foot soldiers everywhere inside of Iran also. And this is really going to be a challenge to govern a diverse country then that includes people who want a secular governance along with people who are theocrats. One of the articles that I wrote this week is how mosques, even in the United States, are parroting the end times theology that the government of Iran has put forward.
Oh, great. That sounds positive, right?
Yeah. And they are the ones in Manassas, Virginia. I went to that mosque, and they literally had a photo of Khamenei with Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, and then Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah. So this is from the United States to Tehran, that they now have ideologues. And that's going to be the real challenge, is bringing that diversity of viewpoint into a real democracy.
Yeah, and boy, you just hope that this is different than some of the past moments, because it would be awesome to have things settle down in that country in particular. But, it certainly doesn't sound like the military campaign is going to slow down anytime soon either.
Right. And it seems that the Trump administration has definitely chosen a path in which they are clearing the way for the Iranians who believe in freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom of choice, the right of a woman to feel the wind in her hair, to have, safe expression. And I've been listening to the cautionary notes by President Trump saying, don't go yet, like he seems to be very deliberate in his guidance. And the challenge is going to be a long one in trying to make sure that radicalization that is inside that country and exported, as you saw with the sad killings of innocents in Austin, Texas, by a man wearing,
Yeah, and by the way, that barely got any attention. I talked about it a little bit yesterday. I think the death toll is now 3 at that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is they always like to talk about lone wolves, but the reality of ideology is that it is transported, into the minds of people across borders, and we have it very much so. Like I've reported it out here in the United States also. So that and not only the protest industry supporting them, but then egging people on. Last night I went to a protest in front of the White House, and it was very much, we are in the belly of the beast, they declared, and we must make this country ungovernable. So they are very deliberate in their sabotage. And this was, again, the network of this unholy alliance of the axis of evil.
My goodness.
Yeah.
That's awesome. By the way, the Supreme Leader's son has been named the new leader of Iran. He's 56 years old, Mojtaba Khamenei. So that's what we know at this point. I guess we're going to take him out next, though.
Well, he will be an ideologue, and that is last night at the White House, they had photographs of Ayatollah Khamenei in adoration, just lamenting his death. And so this is a long struggle for sure, and we're going to see it on the streets of America as the proxies for the government of Iran and China and Russia try to undermine the stability.
And that makes me a little
America.
nervous here moving forward, not because of the protests or who's funding it, just because chaos does not seem to be something that we should be experiencing heading into midterm elections just to make it about politics. So I hope all this kind of settles down in a positive way in the coming weeks. Asra, always great to have you on. Thank you so much.
Gosh, thank you so much. It's so great. And I encourage everyone, follow the signs, follow the money.
Oh, absolutely. You're great at linking those together. Fox News Digital, Asra Nomani.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got some volume on southbound 55 south of Arsenal. That goes down through Bates, but it looks fine to the south of there. Westbound 40 a slow go approaching Kings Highway. Out through McCausland, Lindbergh through 270, and again out at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Now 70 westbound, moderate volume at Jennings Station Road, but then it opens up. Southbound 270, moderate volume in pockets approaching Olive, down through Doherty Ferry. And if you are headed into Illinois, no delays on the bridges or even the approach, but there's some slow-moving traffic eastbound 64, approaching 255 to just east of 157. By the way, we're quiet through North County. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they have been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes. They do inside and out, windows, siding, kitchens, baths, outdoor spaces, quality craftsmanship, and lifetime warranties. Go to lakesiderd.com and start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
And speaking of projects, let's do something with your bathroom. I want you to go to michaelsbass.com. This is a great local company. Mike Gower is the guy who runs it. It's been doing it for 30 years. His daughter, Melody, will answer your call. On their website, they have great pictures of before and after. Some bathrooms that did not look very good at all. Some of them went through entire remodels. Some of them just, tub to shower conversions. They excel in all of these, and they do it at a great price, by the way. If you want a free estimate, get a free quote, call 636-775-0800 or go to the website, michaelsbass.com. You can see a bunch of the pictures in their gallery, read some reviews, and just get inspired because they have all kinds of options for you. And you can do this stuff on a budget. I guarantee you they're going to come in lower than the other companies, and they're going to do top quality work. So get your free estimate today, 636-775-0800 or michaelsbass.com.
Dreaming of college but worried about the cost? The Together Foundation is here to help. The Together Foundation is awarding 5 $1,500 scholarships to St. Louis area students who are ready to take the next step toward their future. Applying is simple, but time is limited, as applications will be accepted through March 31st. Learn more or apply at togethercu.org/scholarship. That's togethercu.org/scholarship. This community message has been brought to you by Together Credit Union.
Last year, I had back pain radiating down my right leg. The pain was so bad I was willing to cut my leg off to stop the pain. I could barely walk and had to stoop over when I did just to take pressure off the spine. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. In my professional career, I've represented thousands of people who've had herniated discs and issues with their neck and back, but never fully appreciated what they were going through until it was my turn. It's like trying to describe colors to a blind person who's never had sight. All I can tell you is it hurt like hell, but worse. My daily walk was gone, and that bothered me a great deal. Then I thought of all of you and how much more devastating this type of injury could be for you. My life stopped. I now feel your pain. Just know at Morgan & Morgan, we got your back. I understand. Morgan means more.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
Mark Cox here. Join me for the annual Lincoln Trump Day dinner with the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee, March 20th at Old Hickory Golf Club. Enjoy dinner, great guests, and a gun raffle. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Feeling and looking more like springtime over the next several days, and that means our periods of showers and a couple of thunderstorms will be possible overnight tonight. The key is not raining all the time. Springtime pattern, 50 for the low. Wednesday, periods of showers, couple of thunderstorms. Could be some strong storms, mainly to our south. On Wednesday, 65 degrees. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Sirens over Israel. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. As Iran launches another round of attacks after a deadly attack against Tehran's leadership.
You know, at one location that we went to, you could see the shrapnel aftermath. 7 people there were injured, mostly lightly. As this conflict develops, the Israelis are continuing to go after Iranian leadership. And today they struck Iran's Supreme Council building just south of the capital of Tehran. And Israeli officials say that they killed individuals who are Iranian officials who were counting the votes to determine who would be the next supreme leader of Iran.
Fox's Trey Inks in Tel Aviv. Israel has also launched strikes against targets in Lebanon after Hezbollah launched missiles against Israel. Lebanon health officials say at least 50 have been killed and more than 300 wounded. For a second day, Secretary of State Marco Rubio meeting with top lawmakers on the action in Iran, explaining what the administration says are the goals.
You're going to really begin to perceive a change in the scope and in the intensity of these attacks as
as frankly the two most powerful air forces in the world take apart this terroristic regime and defang it.
Rubio says President Trump decided to launch the strikes after it was clear negotiations were not working. This, as a new Fox News poll takes a look at how Americans feel about the U.S. military strikes in Iran.
The poll shows that while 61% of respondents feel Iran is a national security threat to the U.S., Americans are split 50-50 on their approval of the strikes in Iran. When it comes to President Trump, only 29% of those polled say America is safer because of how he's handled Iran. Overall, on foreign policy, the president gets 40% approval, up from 39% a month ago.
Fox's Colonel Scott. 30% of respondents say the U.S. is more respected across the world than 4 years ago. America is listening to Fox News.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, welcome back. Hour number 3. Don't forget, we have stop number 3 on our Fish Fry Friday tour coming up this Friday in South County. We'll be at Assumption Catholic Church on Mattis Road, and we'll have a live Reardon Roundtable. The whole show will be out there. We'd love to see you. Former State Senators Jeff Smith and John Lamping will be on the panel. Hey, tomorrow at 4:30, Lauren Traeger from Channel 4 is going to drop by. There's this new show that is set in St. Louis called DTF St. Louis that is not really filmed here in St. Louis, but it has St. Louis references. Lauren says that she's doing a podcast on that. That piqued my interest, so we're going to have her on tomorrow afternoon at 4:30, right after Sue's News. Susan Crabtree is back with us this afternoon. Real Clear Politics national political correspondent, co-author of a brand new book called Fool's Gold, The Radicals, Con Artists, and Traitors Who Killed the California Dream and Now Threaten Us All. That has to be a long book, Susan Crabtree, because there's a lot of stuff about California. How are you this afternoon?
Oh, yes, I'm doing great. Though we have plenty of material out here. No shortage of story ideas for fraud stories and general corruption. It's just amazing.
I had a friend of mine, Brian Ping, who's an anchor at KNX on because he's a St. Louis guy, and we were talking about the governor's race a little bit. I mean, does it realistically look like the top 2 finishers in that primary might not be a Democrat amongst them?
That's not, there's like an 18% chance of this, according to Paul Mitchell, who is a Democratic consultant who's warning about it. So he sort of narrowed it down, and the odds are that's the case. So it could be Steve Hilton and the sheriff.
Yeah, I don't even know the guys.
Riverside.
Don't feel bad. Nobody knows his name.
Sheriff from Riverside,
yeah.
Chad Bianco. There you go. I should know this on the top of my tongue, but it's really probably more likely going to be a Democrat, and it's right now it's looking like it could be Katie Porter, despite her her self-destruction. Or Mr. Swalwell, which would even...
That's unbelievable. I can't even believe that Eric Swalwell is, like, competitive in that race. That's amazing to me, sitting here in St. Louis.
Yeah, it is. It's just a dearth of candidates, I think. People are not wanting to jump to the fore, and Katie Porter, she just combusted. She's still up there, though, because it's California, and it's, one-party state. So... she could still she's ahead of Eric Swalwell by a nose or two, by 1 or 2 percentage points. But really, Steve Hilton is the leader if it was just a straight the primary was the general election, he would win.
Yeah, that's crazy. It really is. Interesting. Yeah, we talked about it a couple hours ago. I was looking at it a little bit more in depth, and I hadn't done that, but I didn't realize that Hilton was doing as well as he is. And then I also didn't realize that, it's a little confusing, the calendar for your election out there in California, too, isn't it?
Well, we have it in November, but we have it's what we call jungle primary, but it's the two top vote getters that emerged from the primary to go to the general
But the
election.
primary's in June, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yes.
But then the general's not until November.
Correct.
Yeah, that's see. We do our primaries here at the beginning of August. I guess every state does it differently, and then the general in November. That's a long time between the primary and the general. But Susan Crabtree, let's talk about libraries. Remember when we were younger and we learned about the card catalog, and the librarians were like the nicest people in the entire school. They were soft-spoken. You liked your librarian. They wanted to help you find the book that you wanted to read. What the hell has happened to the American Library Association? Because this is not the first time I'm talking about the radical aspects of this group.
Yes, it's almost like it was infiltrated by the Democratic Socialists of America.
Yes.
And it is really something that was eye-opening to me, because I just said, okay, let me reach out to them. It's the fair thing to do. And the woman who, she goes by they, them, Sam Helmick.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, that's the first sign, was actually very earnest. I truly believe she thinks this, that she was telling me that supporting drag queen story hours and even what we would consider sexualized books is supporting parental rights and parental choice, because otherwise there wouldn't be any choices. What?
That's the rationale.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if she really believes that it should be normalized, that drag queen story hours should be normalized, and that is something that's cutting edge in our society. She even compared it to the Library Association support in her own state of Iowa of opening up libraries again, stopping the bans to German Americans after World War II. I guess that was something that happened in Iowa back after World War II. And I asked her, is there anything like this that's not extreme LGBTQ plus material that you can say the ALL supported in the last 10 years, 15, 20 years? And she said, I'd have to get back to you and do my research and get back to you. But no, it's to anyone who is not
crazy
on the extreme end of this debate, this seems like just radical perspectives, but it's why when we go into our libraries, we're seeing collections that are pro Muslim Sharia law in some cases. I know even
lots of rainbows.
Lots of rainbows.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what we're seeing.
But some of this, though, I want to talk about Washington, because you framed some of this around a bill that is supposedly going to cut off funding to schools that promote or provide sexual programming or literature to children. So this group, the American Library Association, is taking a stand on that, right? They're fighting that bill.
Yes, this is a bill by Mary Miller.
Yep, right across the river here in Illinois. Yep, she's right. Our listening audience is a good portion of her district, yes.
Yeah, so she came out with this bill a couple of weeks ago that would say that would prohibit any use of federal funds at schools promoting any program or activity that includes sexually oriented material, whether that be, in these drag queen story hours or in what most people would consider sexualized or explicit material in books. And this provoked a response from the American Library Association saying, basically they were going to fight this bill tooth and nail, and they believe that parents, not politicians, should be deciding what their children are reading. Yeah, I think that's what we all would
that's
agree with.
that's kind of the whole goal. The thing about this that drives me crazy, we have a certain amount of coverage of this, when it comes up in local school districts, and I hate the way, and I'm sure that you do too, they always talk about book bans, right? It's not a book ban. The best, this isn't that hard, Susan, you know this. The best example is I have an 11-year-old daughter. She turns 11 this Sunday. She's not able to go on her Chromebook and access everything out on the internet. They're not able to go in theory in their school library and find things that might be, more age appropriate for high school kids. So a lot of this is just age appropriateness, content appropriateness, having tax dollars go to promote some of this stuff because, the one book, and you mentioned in your piece that always gets mentioned is Gender Queer. And how often does that get written about by local papers, the New York Times or anything like that? And they never put little slides in there that show people exactly what the content of that book is to maybe better explain how that content could be offensive to some people. They just want to talk about book bans, Susan.
Yes, I mean, exactly. And I did have a little brief summary of some of the problems of included in that book. And I don't really want to like to talk about it personally. It's for a more adult audience, and it's obvious if you read it. And why they're trying to have young people exposed to this in their libraries, I just don't. It's something that most people don't understand. It's an 80-20 issue, but yet we're confronted by it left and right in California and all over the country. And this is resulting in, I talked to Sam Helmick, the president of ALA. I talked to this person about it, and they said they don't believe there's an exodus in California out of the school system. People are running away from this ideology and this indoctrination. And she said there's no evidence that correlates that. I said, well, okay, I've just talked to the people that I know who've taken their kids. I mean, there's anecdotal evidence, and you can deny it all you like, but I absolutely know people, multiple people that this happened to. And our school district has had 2 incidents of pretty dramatic news scandals of this nature that made national news. One was My Shadow is Pink, and it's a good children's book about a boy who doesn't believe his shadow is blue like his father's, and by the end of the book, the father is in a tutu accompanying his gay son to class. And they paired up 5th graders with kindergartners and had the 5th graders read this to the kindergartners. And then they took them outside and sat the kindergartners down on the playground and outlined their shadows and asked said, think about what color your shadow is. And I mean, if that's not indoctrination,
oh my gosh, yeah, I mean, how is that? There's nothing about that. Look, let's face it. Those kindergartners, they don't have any idea. They have no idea what they're even trying to do, right? I offer this example. Look,
they don't have hormones.
Well, no, I mean they're just kindergartens. Here, I'll use this example. So, my daughter was a kindergartner in 2020. All right, so the COVID year. So for 2 months, I was the assistant, teacher in the basement when she was on Zoom calls. And I've told this story before. So Susan, the very first day, if it was even the first day, it was the second day, we had a book that everyone had to read. The teacher had to read it to the class, and it's called Ron's Big Mission. Okay. And it's a pretty good book. It's about this guy who was African-American, grew up during the civil rights era, and became an astronaut, right? So the teacher reads the book. There's a couple of black kids that are, I can see them on the Zoom calls, and she reads the book, and she asked the kids, what their takeaway was. Well, they had no idea. They didn't know that their takeaway was supposed to be about race or racial discrimination because they're 6 years old and you're planting this stuff into their heads. So I think the same thing happens with this sex stuff. They feel like it's their obligation to, at the very start of the point where indoctrination can take place, to plant these things into their minds, even when they have no comprehension of them at all.
Oh, yes. And it's usually adult paradigms that are put on the book, that are inserted into the book, just like books there was a book about a trans child who was very worried about their pregnant mom gendering the baby. it's just it goes
it's
on
crazy.
and on, and that's not what children really think about. Even if that's a dental paradigm being placed on a children's book that was available in the Oregon public schools. And the backdrop to all of this is that the Trump administration has come in and they've cut funding to the American Library Association. It wasn't very much, but it was through it was a couple $1 million, and it was through the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Now, what the ALA is really upset about is that the Trump administration tried to zero out all of the Institute of Museum and Library Services funding of what many people would consider woke grants.
Right.
But they weren't successful, so a judge reversed that, and they had to go about funding all those grants. But this is their discretionary funding, and they basically zeroed out any funding to ALA. And so the American Library Association says they're under the attack, and that libraries are under attack by the administration.
Right, that's the narrative that they're going with. And instead, the IMLS is actually going to pay for what they call Freedom Trucks, which is going to be a traveling exhibit to educate people about our great country, which I completely support. Susan Crabtree, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Check out the piece at realclearpolitics.com.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Not a bad commute at this hour. In fact, there was a stall eastbound 270 past 367, but they got that cleared to the shoulder. And we've had a couple things cleared to the shoulder. There was one westbound 70 near the airport, and it really looks okay through there now. Northbound 170, a little bit slow, headed for Frost. We've got westbound 70, moderate volume at Jennings Station Road at past 94, but it's not bad. Heavier traffic on 64, and that's Kings Highway out through McCausland. We've got a jam on southbound Clarkson, south of 64. Some moderate volume along southbound 270 in pockets from Olive down through Doherty Ferry, 55 slowing at Bates. And we look great on the bridges downtown. There is some moderate volume eastbound 64 at 157. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Being first in line can be very important to homeowners. First in line for the plumber, first in line for the HVAC guy, first in line for Banner Construction. It's Banner Construction's winter home event, and you can be first in line this spring and save before the annual price increases. Banner Construction is a James Hardy and Pella window replacement specialist, and now is the best time to schedule a free in-home consultation with no obligation. Call 314-569-1050 or see them online and have a banner day.
Hey guys, Glover here with my very, very good friend, Dr. Kathy Maupin at BioBalanceHealth.com. If you have reached that certain age and you're just not feeling very well and nothing's working the way it used to work, go see Dr. Kathy. She is not only a medical doctor, she is a patient of this bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It absolutely works. It's a long-term solution. She is an artist when it comes to helping you with your hormones. BioBalanceHealth.com for Dr. Kathy Maupin.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group.
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw. When we meet our clients for the first time, they have built up a lifetime of savings. Their question is, what can we do with this money so we can live comfortably the rest of our lives? First, we develop a strategy to protect your nest egg from any market losses. Then, we build your own personalized structured income plan that will generate you an income the rest of your life. We put you in control of your money.
You've earned it, and it's our job to make sure you enjoy it. Let our team show you how you can have the retirement of your dreams. Call us now at 314-993-9494 for a no-cost, no-obligation retirement review. You will also get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. We've been helping retirees and pre-retirees retire with confidence for 40 years. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online at retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, And I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-491-9914. 800-491-9914. That's 800-491-9914.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Tech Talk Tuesdays coming up. George Rosenthal. We always have great topics that we cover with him from ThrottleNet. Plus, I'll have an audio cut of the day. You're all geared up with your Cardinal stuff, Ethan Hannaford, aren't you?
It just is kind of in like the weekly rotation. It just feels like at least once a week I end up throwing on the Red
I'm starting
Bull
to work in some Cardinals gear. You notice that?
Mm-hmm.
Now that baseball is close.
And you know how I am. I'm one that if I have like the shirt or the sweatshirt of the team, I got to have the hat too. I got to have the matching. I got to have the matching full outfit. It can't just be one thing. Otherwise, it just bugs me.
Yep, you do a fine job doing that. You also do a podcast that we wanted to share some information about because you have a pretty cool guest this week.
Yeah, big episode coming up, episode number 101 of the Lou Sports Talk podcast. It's going to be featuring Cardinals center fielder Victor Scott II. So he's going to be joining us tonight. We're recording tonight. It'll release tomorrow morning. A lot of
so you haven't done it yet?
No, haven't done it yet, but a lot of interesting topics to discuss. Certainly, he had his first full year at the majors last year, and he has some big expectations for himself, I think, and just continuing to grow and improve in the game. And there's a lot of questions just about the team in general. I'm looking forward to asking about and picking his baseball 101 brain as well.
Yeah, all right, so you're doing it tonight, then released tomorrow. Then how can people find it when it's released?
Yeah, so if you want to watch it, you can go to STL Sports Central's YouTube channel, and you can watch it there. If you're more of a listening to podcasts kind of person, then you can check out the Lou Sports Talk on Apple Podcast or on Spotify.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. That sounds like fun.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
I look forward to hearing.
It'll be a good time.
You might find this, well, I know you'll find this interesting, and I want to share this with the audience because this is a different angle of the Warner Brothers Discovery deal. Andrew Marchand writes about this in The Athletic because I didn't think about this, and obviously some people and a lot of people have thought about this. The NFL is going to be a big winner here in this deal, and I'm going to explain here in a second. So what Andrew says is, was it Paramount Skydance now in line to own Warner Brothers' legendary properties and collection of cable networks, including CNN, by the way, for an astronomical $111 billion? His question is, who's the winner? Was it Netflix, which walked away from the deal? Sue, I don't know if you know this. They had a breakup fee that had to be paid to them. They collected $2.8 billion in the breakup fee. Oh, yeah.
Dang.
But what he says in this is that the true winner and still champion is the NFL. So first of all, you got to review how we got here. So Netflix out-strategized Paramount for winning the bid on Warner Brothers, but they didn't want CNN, they didn't want the cable networks. So it looked like Netflix was possibly going to win this. Paramount was relentless, though. So they increased the offers for everything. So they went for all the networks, CNN included. So given the option to keep up with the bidding and the House of Cards type dramas, Netflix dropped out. I think it was Friday. And it was weird because they went to the White House that day and boom, they were out. So that leaves Paramount with the Warner Brothers assets and an enormous bill. Oof. So this is where it gets interesting because I mentioned this yesterday. They already said that they're going to combine Paramount Plus and HBO Max. That's 200 million subscribers. That's also, think about the content. Think about the amount of content. I have both of those services, and there's endless content in each one of them. So that's a big deal, and I think it's good for the consumer. With CBS Sports joining forces with Warner Brothers TNT Sports, Paramount's David Ellison is creating a behemoth, listen to this though, that will feature the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NHL, the Masters, NCAA basketball and football, the Champions League, among a lot of other properties, and that's going to rival, if not exceed, the reach of ESPN. Wow. This is going to be the first time that anything will rival ESPN in sports coverage, and based on what I just read there in The Athletic, I think it could be bigger than ESPN. So ESPN's counter to this is, you know what we're going to do?
No.
We lost Sunday Night Baseball. We're going to put, no offense to the women out there, we're going to do an all-women's sports thing on Sunday nights.
Oh,
well,
dear.
good luck with that. Are you kidding me? There's not going to be anybody that's going to watch that.
What else have they got? I mean, you know, they got to pick a theme and run with it. Oh, geez, that's not good.
At the end of the decade, the NFL has an opt-out for its core 11-year, $110 billion plus rights deal with CBS, Fox, NBC, ESPN, and Prime. With the NBA just starting its 11-year, $76 billion deal, the NFL has decided to begin talks now. So this is crazy. And the NFL, Roger Goodell knows this, right? They're in the league of their own because they get huge numbers.
Oh, yeah.
And live sports
They
is where
just
it's at
do.
when it comes to
Yeah.
advertising.
Yep.
So all of this is going to be really interesting. And I didn't really realize the impact that sports is going to have on this. You know, he even talks about this. He goes, with the NFL, they've done Thursday Night Football on Prime. They've done some games on Netflix. They did the Christmas Day doubleheaders. YouTube has had its exclusive Week 1 game. Prime Video's had, exclusive NFL packages. So if
Thursday night
Netflix,
games.
he says, if Netflix had won the auction for Warner Brothers Discovery, it would not have included TNT, which is under Discovery, that was excluded from the deal. Netflix would have then paid nearly $83 billion and, given its resources, would have had more money to outlay on live sports. But in the absence of that $83 billion spend, Netflix's appetite for the NFL and unused cash grows now, is what he says. So there's a lot of options here that is going to be really, really interesting and something to keep an eye on in the media world.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
If you're on the Illinois side, first of all, we look fine on the bridges downtown. 64 eastbound slowing at 157. Now westbound is slow. Kings Highway out through McCausland. Eastbound slowing at Big Bend. Westbound some moderate volume at 270. And out at Highway, well, it looks like it may be just past Winghaven. We'll call it Highway N due to road work out through 70. 70 isn't bad, but there's some moderate volume at Lindbergh. And let's see, 55 slowing at Bates. Southbound 270 slowing on either side of Olive and a little bit right at 55. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
If you have flooring needs, I want you to check out Michael's Flooring Outlet here in St. Louis. They're absolutely the best. They have 3 awesome locations. They're open 6 days a week. Mike gives the team off on Sundays, which is appropriate. You can use the website, though, and even order some samples right now. Upload a picture to get some inspiration. They have so many options for you. That's why I always say go into one of the 3 locations. The legendary store in Old Town St. Peters. They're in Darden Prairie and in West County on Olivet. Not only do they have the products that you can put your hands on, get your eyes on it. I'm an audio medium guy who really needs visuals to, connect with things. And really, it's helpful to go into one of the stores because you have experts that have been in this industry for a long time. If you dare walk into a big box store and you think you're going to get a better price, you're going to get someone that's been working for a couple of months in the industry. They know nothing about the products. The technology of these products are incredible, how far they've come when it comes to water resistance, scratch resistance, pet resistance, kid resistance, you name it. And if you need service after your purchase, they can handle that as well. IGotFloor.com is the website. 3 great locations are open every day except for Sunday. Michael's Flooring Outlet.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
When it comes to planning your retirement, there's a lot to think about. Portfolio management, tax planning, and retirement income just to get started. Steve All and his team at the All Financial Group focus on those things and more. Their goal is to help you achieve your goals. Call 636-230-8824 or online, yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IBW, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve All, NPN number 153-07419.
Lifestyles Unlimited is a real estate education group that gives you the roadmap and resources to start building income through real estate. You'll learn practical strategies for using investment properties to create extra income and make informed decisions, one step at a time. Join today for just $297. That's a 60% savings off the regular price of our real estate education program. Text RADIO to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
From Troy, Missouri to Troy, Illinois. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative. Tech Talk Tuesday with George Rosenthal of ThrottleNet. ThrottleNet.com.
Here he is on a Tuesday afternoon. George, welcome back. Lots to talk about. How are you?
Thanks so much. Doing great. Always something to talk about in the tech world, I tell you.
No kidding. Now, we're talking on this show a lot about the war with Iran. You're bringing something to my attention that is called digital bunker warfare. What the heck is this?
Yeah, this is crazy. I mean, I get it from a certain standpoint of keeping the people from overthrowing the government, but the internet traffic in the entire country, you're talking about a country of 90 million people. I mean, it's a third of the size of the United States. Their internet traffic went to 4% of usage as soon as the bombs started dropping. So they shut down the internet. And that's not because of the bombs. That's because the government shut down the internet for the entire country down to 4%. And so what this means is they also, at the same time, were prepared for this and had autonomous malware ready to go. And it was all separated throughout different parts of the country. So if one part of the country went down, the malware could still react and start attacking all the financial institutions as much as possible in Europe, Israel, and the United States. So there's like a constant denial of service attack on financial institutions around the world right now coming from Iran. And I mean, they were prepared for this in such a way that they knew their people were going to, talk and gather through social media, through any other types of apps, and then be able to take over and overthrow the government. Well, they've shut that down completely and are now pushing government apps onto their citizens' phones that are pushing propaganda saying that we are the greatest, there's nothing to fight here. They're demoralizing them literally by pushing data to their phones. So this is a complete cyber warfare in a different way that no one's ever seen before. They're calling it the headless cyber army. I mean, I've never heard of anything like this before, but it's happening to their citizens. So when they say rise up, I don't know how they're going to organize. You got to get 90 million people to come together, but they can't talk to each other.
Look, this is a perfect way of explaining this challenge even deeper. Because even without knowing anything that you said, it's already a challenge to get people on the same page and to have some sort of change, organically. So that's fascinating. Now, when you say kill switch, is there an easy way to explain how a country can do that? And is it something that anyone can we do that if we decided to do it? Just shut the internet down?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. They would just go directly to your internet service providers, which is Spectrum, AT&T. I mean, it varies across the country, of course. Those internet service providers are coming into about a handful of major trunks, so to speak, of where the internet's coming into the world. And they can shut that down, absolutely. Now, the one thing that that can save it all, and it's ironic, it's good old Elon, and it's Starlink.
Yeah. Yep.
Because with Starlink, you don't need an internet service provider. You just need a clear line of sight to space. So, if they had Starlink satellites, if they had these mobile systems, they're ready to go and can coordinate and work together. But this is something that is, and got to remember, these people are worn-torn, brainwashed people that are now being propagandized to through apps that have been pushed onto their phones. So the fear is already there. Now you think the government's on your phone watching you and talking to you directly during this conflict. I mean, it's going to be a definite challenge,
George,
to say the least.
I don't know if you're going to know this, but did we, the U.S., expect this? Did anybody know that Iran was going to try attacking everything and had this all set up?
You would hope so.
I don't know. I don't know, but I have to imagine. Look, if they have to have had some sort of idea that they were going to turn the internet off to their citizens, because that is in today's world the only way you're coordinating and talking to each other to gather and protest and get together on a mass level.
And they had done it already a few weeks ago when those mass protests took place. So they,
That's true.
Why did they? Just out of curiosity, you said it was down to 4%. What happened to the rest of the 4%? Why couldn't they get it all?
Well, they probably can. They're probably just leaving some open so they can communicate with themselves.
I got you. Yeah, government type stuff, right?
Absolutely, yeah. To be able to, but literally, I mean, 4% of internet traffic is all that's going on right now in Iran. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Tech Talk Tuesday, George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet is here. All right, so we've talked about this a little bit, but I didn't know it was this much of a crisis. There's a copper issue in this country. People, like thieves, steal copper, right, because it's very valuable. And because of that, we are having trouble with AI because there's not enough copper. Is that true?
Well, so the copper's fine as far as that goes. Here's the copper's problem. The copper can't carry data fast enough. And the copper is causing the biggest bottleneck that is literally choking out AI's progress. So if you want to keep AI where it's at, then it's stick with copper, because that's all we're going to get is where we're going. And copper is only able to carry so much. In fact, every single Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 7 cable, those are cables that are connecting the computers together. The typical network cable that you see, that's all copper. And AI is so fast, and these chips now that NVIDIA has created are so fast that the copper can't transmit it. It literally melts because of the friction, the friction that is caused by it. So what's wild, though, is if you have stock in NVIDIA, then God love you if you got in early, because they just invested $4 billion for a product, a new, totally new invention called silicon photonics. And it's kind of like fiber optic cable, but a little different. And it's going to replace all the cables, the copper cables, and it's beams of light. So think about it this way. You could take several different components of a motherboard of a computer, separate them by miles and miles and miles, and it would be the speed as if they were attached to the motherboard. It is so fast. It is 20%, 20 times faster than copper. But here's the best part. It uses 80% less electricity. Right now, all the data centers in the country use 4% of the grid. That's going to massively increase. But if you can reduce the amount of electricity that it takes to transmit data, now you've helped out the grid, you've helped out everybody else who really is fearful of data centers messing up their utilities. So this is going to be a huge change when the silicon photonics take over. I mean, let's put it this way. This is a 1.6 terabit laser beam that, to put it in perspective, this will download 50 4K movies in 1 second.
So how long does a transformation like that take?
Yeah.
It's going to take years. This is going to.
But like 5, 10. How long are we talking?
I think 5. I think 5 to 7. Because here's why I say it's so short. Normally I would say 10 or more.
Yeah.
NVIDIA is putting everything they got behind this, and they're partnering with big tech, because this is the only thing holding them back from faster processing and faster AI and more integrated AI is the cables. So they're realizing that our biggest problem needs to be fixed. They're going to invest billions and billions, and they're going to put an urge quick on this thing to fix it. So we are going to go from an era, literally an electrical era, to a light era, where you're flashing beams of light from computer to computer. And instead of having data centers that have to all be together, that's the end of the server room, so to speak, because you can have equipment spread all over the world, and it's the speed of light. So it will change everything.
And I love thinking about moments like this and the fact that we're on Mars, and I'm just telling you right now, if you're on Highway 6440 and you're going past the zoo, you lose your cell signal. We can do all this crazy stuff, but you're still losing your cell signal at 44 in Lindbergh and right there by the zoo on 6440.
You guys, though, this is mind-boggling what we come up with. America is amazing, side note. But, I mean, think about that. We've just come from copper wire to light.
But you also say, and this is kind of taking us into the next area, you say that 2026, this scares the hell out of me, is the year that we stop talking to AI and start hiring it. Explain that.
Yes.
Scare the hell out of us some more, George.
This is happening now. And I mean now, like Dell, HP, Asus all announced this in their 2026 lineup of desktop computers and laptops that they are now going to install what's called an NPU. It's a neural processing unit. And this chip is specifically designed for AI to plant itself on your laptop without any outside internet cloud interaction whatsoever. And they have got this down to where it uses almost no battery. So your laptop will not be affected by this chip being installed. But it is a complete, think of it as a personal assistant that's not on the payroll, but that's with you everywhere you go. So this is the beginning. And I was telling you talking about this in previous shows. This is the beginning of where AI is integrated into everything you use electronically. And HP, Dell, and Asus are putting this out now. So imagine AI and you're talking to it. You're talking to it now as if it's a Google search or as if it's some sort of Bing search. That's not going to be the case anymore starting this year. Because let me give you a real life scenario. I just got done doing a bunch of travel in December and January. And, I had some planes move around. We had a flight move around, so forth. So imagine I just tell my computer, hey, I'm going to take a trip. I need to leave on January 22nd. I'm coming back on the 28th. Here's where I'm going. It books it automatically. You say, I'm going to go to Southwest Airlines. It books it for you. Then there's a cancellation, but it's reading your email. And it's reading the notifications that pop up on your laptop. So it says, hey, your flight's been delayed. Let's automatically change your calendar. I'm going to update your app. I'm going to let you know that the flight's been delayed and say, hey, do you want to rebook a flight? If so, I'll go ahead and rebook it for you. I'll notify the people at your destination automatically. And then I'll cancel your Uber to the airport and rebook you another one.
Oh, my gosh.
And it does all of that for you automatically because it's reading your notifications in your email. So this is a personal, and I know a lot of folks don't like this, but here's the thing. It's extremely private. It doesn't leave your laptop. You're not talking to the cloud. You're not putting it out on some server somewhere that Gemini or ChatGPT is listening to, okay? This is all localized data that stays on the laptop or stays on the workstation. So this is a big, big step in the way of getting AI integrated into every single day life and every piece of device you're wearing, from your watch, your phone, your glasses, your laptop, everything.
George, is this something that you buy that goes with your laptop, or are you saying new laptops come with this? And can I get this on my phone because it kind of already is?
Yes. So the neural processing chip actually is going to be integrated with all Dell, HP, and Asus equipment starting this year. So you can do the research on that before you buy a new laptop or before you buy a new machine to make sure that it has the NPU on it, neural processing unit. If it has that on within the system, then yes, you've got it built in, ready to go.
There's going to have to be something similar from Apple, though, right?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, here, look, man, they have been behind the eight ball on the AI train this entire time. And you know what? We talked about it a few weeks ago. They hired Google, and they're going to be integrating Gemini into every iOS device. So I actually have not been using ChatGPT nearly as much as what we've talked in the past. I've shifted everything over to Gemini because my entire ecosystem is going to move there this summer. I'm going to be forced to.
By the way, going back to what you just said, I wanted to. You wrote some notes out for me, and I wanted to point this out because on the description of the scenario that you just gave with traveling and changing and Uber rides and stuff like that, you noted that there's potentially a big debate on the liability if AI signs a contract for you, right?
Yes, that's a scary thing. I don't know how they're going to regulate that because look, if you do a DocuSign, if you open up a PDF and it's a contract on your laptop and AI automatically signs it because it reads it and thinks you should.
Yeah,
those are issues. Yeah, those are issues that we're going to have to deal with, and it's not futuristic. It's happening now.
Okay.
So,
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry,
No,
George.
you're good. No,
okay,
you're good. You're
this
good.
is why when you buy a piece of real estate, and people say, why? I e-signed all the contracts up. Why, when I close, do I have to go there? This is why.
Yeah.
You have to use blue ink and prove that you are a human being doing it. And I wonder if it won't go back to that in some other industries.
I'm sure there will be instances where there's going to be a lot of attorneys getting involved with a lot of money getting involved. And I think you're probably right to where it's going to go back to ballpoint pen at some point for final documentation of these things. Because with AI now integrating, and remember, this is so new. We're in horse and buggy days. I mean, we've been talking about this for years, but we're still in the horse and buggy days of all this stuff, including not only just the technology, but the regulation and the laws. They're so far behind. And this stuff's changing. I mean, every 7 days we're talking and there's something new, and it just doesn't stop. So they've got to catch up with all of this quickly. And AI is exponentially growing and getting faster and getting more advanced. I don't know if you guys have used Gemini or Claude. I mean, Claude is unbelievable in the way of documents and writing and content. And just if you're ever looking to write something, if you want to get your thoughts out and write a book, Claude is just fantastic.
Wait, what? So I'm not familiar with that. What is that?
It's P-L-A-U-D. It's like applaud without the A.
Okay, and that is part of Gemini or related or what?
That's a completely separate language long language model. That is a completely separate AI platform.
Okay,
like Gemini, like ChatGPT. And see, that's the other thing we've talked about in the past is all these different platforms. It's like streaming services for media. I mean, eventually everybody's going to get sick and tired of having 10 different AI systems, and it's going to have to consolidate at some point.
That's what's happening with Paramount Plus and Netflix right now.
Tech
Talk Tuesdays with George Rosenthal, better known as the day we scare the hell out of everyone about AI, but it's always informative. Thank you, George. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great rest of the week.
ThrottleNet.com. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
There is an accident on southbound 270 right there at 55, and it was blocking the right lane. Let me update here. They've been trying to move it off to the shoulder. Nope, it's still blocking the right lane, and the right shoulder is blocked. Traffic, of course, is stacked up behind it, but that's the worst of it. Westbound 40 just slowing Hampton out through McCausland. 70 westbound a little slow at Lindbergh, and that's it. On the Illinois side, we're fine on the bridges, but 64 eastbound slows at 157. This report is brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they have been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. From windows and siding to kitchens, bathrooms, outdoor spaces, they give you quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Go to lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Audio cut of the day coming up next.
Let's show our appreciation for local heroes. Mark Cox here. Nominate a first responder and their department could get lunch from Grill Master Tony's. I'll personally deliver it. Share their story at 971talk.com. Nominate them today.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit ThrottleNet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
Annie Fry here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They are the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
You can feel the Clydesdales circling the field. Hear the stands come alive. Smell the hot dogs, the popcorn, and cold beer in the air. See the crowd rise as the first pitch hits the glove. And just like that, a new season begins. The countdown is on until opening day, and tickets start at just $49. Don't miss St. Louis's favorite holiday. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/opening day.
Cardinals single-game tickets are now on sale for the 2026 season. The schedule delivers big-time matchups, including weekend series against the Cubs and Dodgers, and visits from the Boston Red Sox. Add in a promotions calendar stacked with fan favorites like all-new giveaways, a Hawaiian short and shirt set, golf-inspired hat, dark mode jersey, and a whole lot more. It's Busch Stadium at its best all season long. Lock in your seats today at Cardinals.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Just noticed on my Twitter feed, I guess I haven't really been tweeting a whole lot today, and I thought I tweeted out the show link, but apparently I didn't do that either because I don't see it on our, let's see here. That should have been something. No, I did that. It's just not showing on the page. The reason I bring up my Twitter page is because there were two videos that I put up from the PGA Tour today. One of them was, and I don't think I showed you this one, there was a, this is down in Puerto Rico, there's an iguana that was on the green and literally was playing with a golf ball and moving. So whoever this was, and I'm not sure who hit the ball on the green, but once you're on the green, you're not supposed to move it. They put a little marker down, right? But the iguana was moving. And then look at the iguana like scampering off. I think I actually have audio of this because I sent, of them calling the iguana.
Andrew Loop getting a ruling. Look at that, the iguana trying to eat his ball at 16.
Come on, push it back to the hole. We've seen the seagull at the TPC. Steve Lowry, 1998 seagull at 17, picked up the ball, tried to fly off, dropped it right in the lake.
Yeah.
But he'll just be able to get, look at this little fella run.
That's got to be a shot of the day candidate.
Yeah, that's a shot of the day. And then there's another one. But what I showed you this one last week, there was a PGA golfer in the tournament from last week that actually clipped a bird, and he still made it to the green within a few feet of the cup. The other video, and this one's crazy, Cody Gribble, I don't know who he is, but they're playing, this one's in Florida, and there's a gator that's right sitting next to a pond, and he's literally on the out-of-bounds line, which is that red line that goes across, the course. And one of the golfers says, no, hell no, I'm not going to that gator. And Cody Gribble walks right up to the gator, kind of pinches it on the tail, and the gator just jumps right into the water.
Yeah, now this gator is not as tiny as you might think.
It's a big gator.
It's a decent-sized gator, but it's not.
And he walks up to it like it's nothing, and he just kind of nips it on the tail. And so clearly Cody has done that before.
Yes.
That would be something I would not do. I was on a course in Captiva, Sanibel, 4 years ago. And I don't know if you remember me sending that video.
Yes, I do.
Huge gator. I mean, this thing was so big. Rainford and I were playing together that day. We did not want to get close. I promise you that.
Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Well, Marco Rubio continuing to make the case for the war in Iran kind of got nasty with a reporter today.
Yesterday, you told us that Israel was going to strike Iran and that's why we needed to get involved. Today, the president said that Iran was going to get
Yeah, your statement is false. So that's not what I was asked very specifically. Were you there yesterday?
Yes, I asked
okay.
the question.
No, were you the one that, because somebody asked me a question yesterday, did we go in because of Israel? And I said, you were asking me that follow-up. And I said, no. I told you this had to happen anyway. The president made a decision, and the decision he made was that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ballistic missile program, that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ability to conduct these attacks. That decision had been made. The president president systematically made a decision to systematically destroy this terroristic capability that they had, and we carried that out. I was very clear in that answer. This was a question of timing, of why this had to happen as a joint operation, not the question of the intent. Once the president made a decision that negotiations were not going to work, that they were playing us on the negotiations, and that this was a threat that was untenable, the decision was made to strike them. That's what I said yesterday, and you guys need to play it. If you're going to play these statements, you need to play the whole statement, not clip it to reach a narrative that you want to do.
I still put him. He's the top member of the cabinet for me.
I mean,
he
he's
does a
so
great job.
well spoken.
That was a good
Yes.
smackdown. There's your audio cut of the day. We'll talk tomorrow at 3.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident southbound 270 approaching 55. It's blocking the right lane and the right shoulder. Traffic is jammed through there, but that's about it as far as interstates go. Now, westbound 70 is slowing at Lindbergh. But westbound 64 is down to moderate volume at Clayton Skinker. Southbound 55 now looks fine at Bates. We're good on the bridges if you're headed into Illinois. Just some moderate volume eastbound 64 east of 157. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
This is Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates. You know, the doctors, or just the best doctors to see for your best vision in St. Louis. 314